from the private show.
Here we are.
Once upon a time.
Hello, Cleveland. Are we ready, Brett? Cleveland's ready.
And welcome to Let's Talk Vinyl. And tonight, I will be the glitchy one, as I am not in my studio, but in Kansas City, Kansas, not Missouri, Kansas. So I'm not in the studio, but we would not let anything stop myself and Trey to celebrate the album that has brought us all together. So, with much love,
Correct.
I'm excited to say that this is our 1-year anniversary of doing the show, 12 episodes, and are you ready for this? 1,412 downloads of our podcast as of this morning. The most successful show that I have ever put together, and it's all because of you, Trey.
I doubt that. I think it's all the wine lovers I brought to the show. Maybe there's a untapped group of Pearl Jam fans out there that all these other podcasters are missing, and we just happen to drill right down into them. So, but I'm honored to do this with you. I was so excited. It's a 1-year anniversary, the 30th anniversary of one of the greatest albums ever recorded and released, and just like you said, it's the reason that we're all here. It really is. And so I showed this to you earlier, but to celebrate the 30th anniversary of this album being released, I had to call a friend of mine. You know, I was not making wine 30 years ago. I was a college student at the University of Georgia. But my friend Casey was making wine here in Walla Walla. And I called him up and I said, first of all, do you see this a Magnum, right? That's 2 bottles of wine in there. So this is going to be a long show, Anthony. 2 bottles in here.
That's good.
Holly's helping me. I left her a decanter. She's got a full decanter of wine. I've got half a bottle, but this is a bottle of 1991 Seven Hills Winery, Seven Hills Vineyard Cabernet. And let me tell you, it is absolutely stunning. 30-year-old bottle of Cabernet, and this thing is in prime condition. Tastes like great Bordeaux. And I'm imagining that this Magnum on release was probably like $40 back then. I on the high side. I should have asked Casey when I picked it up today.
And let me ask you this: what does something like that go for nowadays?
Well, I mean, they're not for sale, right? I had to call Casey. He had to go to his wine locker to even see if he had anything from '91, and he texted me back, said, "I found a bottle of Seven Hills Cab," and so I went to pick it up, and it was a Magnum. And I was like, "A Magnum, Jesus!" And he's like, "That's all I had." I said, "I got a couple Magnums and 91s left." So he was very kind to share with me, and he was like, God, I hope it's still good. But I've never had a bad bottle of Casey's wines, especially the older ones. He's a great winemaker, and he's a great winemaker, and I'm thrilled that I get to drink this timeless classic while listening to a timeless classic like Pearl Jam 10 with you, Anthony. What are you drinking tonight, buddy?
I texted you the other day and said I flew here, so I couldn't bring any wine. So you told me, hey, this is a pretty awesome thing, but I sell my wine in Kansas City. You gave me the address of, 11 places. I went out and I got this bottle of wine. It is a 2018 Spellbinder. It's something you didn't send me, so it's not something I had at the house. And I got this one because there's a good selection of your wine in a couple places here, but this one I didn't have to get a bottle opener for. So it was some good stuff, definitely. That's right. I didn't have to get my drill and a screw to open this one up. So it's all good. So, but hey,
we wanted something that was easy to open up on the ride home. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
No, don't do it. But tonight is special, right? Not only are we celebrating our 1-year anniversary, we're celebrating 30 years of 10. We have 3 guests that are coming on tonight. We already announced that Lance Mercer is going to be one of our guests. Lance Mercer should be joining us at any moment. I apologize about technical difficulties. The issue was I set this show up when I was home, and it was set up for 9 o'clock. Well, when I came into this new time zone, my computer still said it was set for 9 o'clock, and it's 8 o'clock. So there was a discrepancy. And I see him. Let's bring him up on the screen.
You guys are all blurry.
Hey, look at that. Lance, you're looking good, buddy. Look at that.
It is
clean shaven.
Yeah,
not really.
Lance, it's an absolute honor to have you on the show, first of all.
Hey, thanks, man. Wait, okay, first of all, you guys are all blurry. Is it going to come in a little sharper in a minute? What's going on? You guys got, dial up or what?
Yeah, so in Kansas City, where I'm at right now, the hotel, I had to plug in the modem to the phone jack in the wall. AOL Instant Messenger popped up. It was amazing. Some guy asked ASL. I was like, 36, all that stuff.
I thought we were doing a MySpace. I thought we were doing a MySpace meet and greet right here.
Yeah. You got mail.
Oh man. Yeah. No. This is unfortunately with me not in the studio.
Okay, so it's delayed, right? So do we have to kind of? Up in the corner, it looks good, but then on the main screen, it's like
You're
As
good.
long
We
as
can
you
hear you
can,
crystal
as long
clear.
as you can hear us, okay. Yeah, if you can hear us, it's all that counts.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
All right,
So Lance,
perfect.
we brought you on tonight. Well, first of all, not only are you, the history of you as a photographer is absolutely amazing. You've been a part of so many, historic photos that are going to, outlast all of us in time, that kids are going to look back to, and their kids, to understand what music was in a certain time period. But one really distinguished, portfolio piece that you have is a lot to do around the band that we all love and we're talking about this evening, and that's Pearl Jam.
Yes.
And that's, I really want to know, and because we're going to keep this around 10, when you photographed the band back in the early 90s, especially around the album 10,
Yeah.
did you recognize that there was something special going on at that time, or was this just another band photo shoot?
No, I definitely did. I mean, it was interesting because you have to remember, we had all still been a little bit, I know me especially, and everybody was still pretty shell shocked from Andy passing away from Uncle Love Bone, because for all intents and purposes, Love Bone was going to be the first band to break out of Seattle on a major label, and that had never happened before, and they had all the perfect elements to do that and to take the big stage. So there was already kind of that mindset that had started to happen with Love Bone. So, and it also highlighted Jeff and Stone's talents, obviously. So it wasn't a surprise. Like, I think we all knew that something else was going to happen, and it was going to be substantial. Although I have to say for myself, I was still hesitant, just because of Andy passing, and I mean, granted, there a lot of time had gone by, but yeah, so I was still kind of like, just checking out. But I will say there was a moment where Jeff had given me the demo, and I had heard some songs, bits and pieces before that, but he gave me the album, and I'll never forget sitting in the car outside of our apartment, me and my wife at the time, and we listened to the whole thing in its entirety. And I think it was the first time I had ever said, like, fuck, these guys are going to be huge,
Wow.
and it wasn't, it was saying it back then is a lot different than now. Like, now there's, I think, some connotation of sarcasm and you know what I mean? It's like, you're kind of like, oh yeah, they did all the stuff perfectly. That wasn't the case with this. It was just, there was definitely something about it that clicked. And it's easy to say that now in hindsight, given how that blew up. But it was pretty obvious that something was happening. Like, you could just feel that those guys together, like, they created something very special at that time. And but still, I'm in the situation of, like, trying to figure out what I was going to do. I mean, just, I think right at that same time, I had just quit my last job that I've had. That was the last time I had a regular job, was like in 91. And I just decided to embark on this career as a photographer. So, there's all these kind of bits and pieces coming at me, and I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do, So it all kind of is one of those perfect storm things. But that's separate from
Lance, I read somewhere that you were at that first show at the off ramp, and you didn't even make it all the way through. You left, and I think it has to do really with your feelings about Andy at the time. And obviously that was they just wanted to get on stage to play these songs just to see what it felt like after they'd been rehearsing them for 6 or 7 days. But I had read somewhere that you were there and then you left. I know you didn't take any photos that night either, because if you had, I know we would have seen them for sure.
I mean, I have shots from the off ramp from, I think, the next show that they did there, but yeah, that's totally true. That same kind of feeling was happening where it sounds a little bit weird, but the time before when I saw Jeff and Stone playing in those spots was Love Bone. And so I kept seeing Andy. It's one of those things where you, after somebody passes away, you think you see them. You know what I mean? You're like, oh shit. Yeah. And then you're like, oh no, that's not them. So I kept having these flashes, and especially, seeing the way I did and do as a photographer, especially when bands are playing live, like I just kept having these shots pop into my head of Andy, and it was hard, man. I walked out because I was still just like, I don't know about this thing.
That's a new guy, right? I mean, first of all, this guy wasn't even from Seattle, right? This guy's coming up from San Diego. Everybody else that was on the stage certainly was part of the local scene. But here's this new guy that's not even living there yet. Like, he was still flying up and back from San Diego to be with the band to like get things going. And so I could see where there'd be some hesitancy. I had Justin Hampton. We had a show this past weekend at my tasting room in Seattle, and Justin Hampton, the poster designer, who worked for the Rocket magazine, and so he was at that first show, and he was the merch guy, and so he was basically selling merch for I want to say it was what was Ty Willman's band at the time?
Inspector Love and the Ride Me Babies.
So Justin Hampton was selling merchandise. I mean, there was no Pearl Jam merchandise or even Mookie Blaylock merchandise. He was just there to work the merch table for Inspector Love and a couple other guys. And got to see that show.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until we were talking about it this past weekend, and I was just sort of shocked. And then he was at the show that you were at, that you were talking about, Lance, that second off-ramp show.
Yeah.
And, it went from, 100 people to 300 people.
Yeah.
Or whatever was that second show. And it's amazing how fast the buzz about Stone and Jeff's new band was working its way around Seattle at that point. And
totally.
I think it attests a little bit to the magic of those two guys, because they, with Green River and all their history with all the other musicians around Seattle at the time. And, and like you said, that Mother Love Bone album, I found a 1990 Rolling Stone magazine that I've kept, and it talked about the Seattle scene, the September of 1990. So this is a month before Eddie came down to Seattle, and the article said it was about, it said these three bands will be the next three big bands. It said the Posies, Alice in Chains, and Mother Love Bone. And the article about Mother Love Bone said, they just signed a $250,000 deal to Polygram Records. It said, except this is a band that's not even around anymore because of Andy's death back early in the year.
Yeah.
But they mentioned in the article that Stone and Jeff had some music, and Stone said he had 12 songs written, and that they're going to, they want to try something new. And I love, it was so neat reading that. So, it's historical fact. You go back and look at this stuff, but this is a month before Eddie even made it up.
Yeah.
So.
And then they did the Mural Amphitheater show, I think, right after that. And I think that was kind of that was one of the pivotal moments too, where that crowd had grown even pretty substantially,
That's right. And that was Dave Abruzzes's first show. He had literally practiced with him for 4 days because Dave Cruzen bowed out. Matt Chamberlain had jumped in for 1 or 2 shows or something like that. But he took that job at Saturday Night Live, and he suggested Dave. And there's some great video. I know you were at that show photographing it. There's some great video of that Mural Amphitheater show on YouTube. And again, you could feel the swell of energy from that very first show in October to that March show at Mural, and how quickly that band really just attracted people to that sound.
Totally. Well, well, yeah, Matt Chamberlain did a couple of shows. That's right. I shot they did the Alive video with Matt Chamberlain.
That's right. And was that at the Moore Theater?
No, that was at Rock Candy.
Rock Candy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of a blur. Here's the other thing that's like super fucking weird to me sometimes when I think back. We were all in our early 20s. Like, it's crazy. You know what I mean? I still think of like, oh yeah, 92 and 93. It doesn't seem as long ago, but then these anniversaries come up and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that was a long fucking time ago. Actually, somewhere in their 20s, I was still only 13 because really,
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was, and the other thing is, I born and raised in Seattle and started going to shows when I was like 13. And it's always been very somewhat insular, and we're in the corner of the country, right? So bands would like play Portland or Vancouver. And so I think that whole kind of protective bubble that we were in carried through for quite a while, so and that's in reference to Eddie coming in. I mean, I think, I've never talked to him about it, but I think it took some time for everybody to kind of warm up and invite him into this world that we already had. I mean, because like I said, that's still, only a couple years. Not a lot of bands were leaving Seattle as far as like, getting signed to major labels or anything like that. That wasn't happening.
You have to give Chris Cornell some credit for that as well. You talk about welcoming Eddie, and
totally.
Temple the Dog was recorded before 10 was, and Eddie at the time was still living in San Diego. He was still flying back and forth, to be with the band and write and as they were going to the studio. But Chris really took him under his wing, and I think that anybody else in the Seattle music scene at that point realized, because Chris was Chris, and so if Chris accepts him, then we have to accept him too. I was like, this is our guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, Soundgarden had already been a band like 10 years in the running.
Yeah.
By that time, they were playing punk rock shows back in the day when I was still going, shows that I was going to. So they definitely were veterans of the scene already. But and also what's funny is that Eddie was living temporarily in the practice room in Belltown under the Potato Head Gallery, which became my dark room for 15. I had that dark room for like 15 years because I needed to.
No way.
Yeah. So they practiced in this room, and he slept had this little adjacent room. I mean, it was a cellar. It was below a forge. So there's pounding upstairs, and yeah, it was pretty wild, man. But so he was living in there for a minute, and then they moved out, of course, and got a bigger space, a better space, and I kind of took over that room for like 15 years. So
Lance, when you think back to that time,
go ahead, Ed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Your work.
I was gonna say you.
I don't know. Lance,
Oh,
when you,
it's okay now.
a lot of your work is associated with the album 10. A lot of your photos, a lot of the stories that are associated with an album definitely go around around the album 10. And I know that you were in London Bridge Studios at some point when they were recording the album.
Yeah.
Can you take us back to that time and what it was like to photograph that moment of time? And then in the same sense, how does it make you feel when people associate your work with an album that has changed so many people's lives?
Okay, the first part of that question, so there's some I don't know what the word is, holy grail. There's some sacred places when it comes to photographing bands, and the dressing room backstage is one of them, and then recording studio is the other. Just because it's the place where there's so much focus and all that creative energy is happening. The last thing you want to do is be a distraction or get in the way of that process. At the same time, those are the golden moments that any music photographer will tell you or they strive for, because whenever the band is with that much focus, you get to blend in even more into the walls and to the background, right? So there's more opportunity for even more candid photography and those moments that I mean, all my favorite photographers and photographs usually involve that process. So so I was focused on staying the fuck out of the way and blending into the background as much as I could. I wasn't going to tell them my thoughts or ideas on what they were doing. I really think you guys should do this little part that I've been thinking of. That wasn't happening. So at the same time, I wasn't there as a fan necessarily. I was there to document, and so I kind of get into this different mindset. How are they set up and composition and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, my style is one of just trying to be as comfortable and relaxed as possible and not put my camera in anybody's face. So did I think that they were making something brilliant and great that would last forever? I don't know. I wasn't really, I think I had more of that moment, like I was telling you, when I sat in the car and listened to the music. And I was also friends with, especially Jeff and Stone. It was kind of my first time getting to know Mike and Ed. And like I said, those are very intimate moments that I did not want to disturb. So I liked what I heard for sure. I mean, I was only there, I think, a day or and a half or a couple days. The second part of your question, which was what? What was the
Sure.
yeah. No, if what does it feel like to be a part of something so historic as far as like the record and Well, I wish I would have gotten a penny for every album sold, but that didn't happen. So I'm kidding. That wasn't my first thought. No. Again, yeah. I learned quickly that there is the aspect of collaborating with somebody else creative is one of the big rewards of what I do. And I learned quickly that I was not going to survive on just my ego alone, that definitely got squashed quickly. And there was something that clicked with Jeff and I early on with Love Bone. Remember, these were the days of film. So part of my job was not just the creative part of capturing, but it was the technical part of knowing how to develop film and how to print and all that kind of stuff. So Jeff would have these ideas and I got to, execute those ideas as best as I could, depending on what he wanted. And we worked really well together. And it was
Can you take us back to the 10 photo sessions for the album cover? Because
yeah.
you mentioned and I love how you keyed in on the creativity of Jeff. Jeff's an artist as well as a musician, and I think Jeff thinks like an artist as well.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I love how the two of you guys connected in that way. I don't know if Jeff takes photographs or not, but I love how the two of you guys connected from the art standpoint. And so when you guys were thinking about what was going to be the album cover, and you had that huge Pearl Jam 10 mural in the background, how did that whole process work? How did that? Who decided to come up with this huge Pearl Jam sign, and who came up with the idea of doing the 5 hands up in a pyramid and that kind of thing?
That was all Jeff. He actually did start carrying around a camera and taking pictures, and I threatened that I was going to show up with a bass. That became a running joke. Because his pictures were, they used a lot of them on the next albums. A lot of his work. No, I think, basically the idea came about, we wanted to make these letters larger than life to avoid having anything looked. Now I'm talking about the initial idea, to avoid having anything look done digitally, or at that time, like cut and paste. Like, we wanted it to be as authentic as possible, hence building these big letters, photographing the band in front of the big letters. And then Jeff had a specific color in mind, which again, at that time, was up to the photographer to get that color with the lighting. It was stressful for sure. There was definitely, Jeff had this idea, and I think we just I was just there to capture it. And Ed was new, and he was trying to get consensus with the band. I think there was some struggles of trying to figure out exactly how to go about it. The 5 hands, the basketball player kind of, that stance was all Jeff. Unfortunately, if you notice, by the time it got into the hands of whoever did it at the record company, they cut up the photo and put the 2 photos together, which wasn't, I'm pretty, Jeff was pretty pissed by how that ended up turning out.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think he was very happy, because the whole idea was I had taken this photo of the band in front of the letters, and they ended up cutting out the band and kind of sandwiching him in there and defeating the whole purpose of what we were doing. I mean, that's kind of my take of what we initially set out to do and what ended up becoming. The color is off too. It wasn't supposed to be as pink. It was supposed to be more red. And so I think, there was that, they were still a new band. I mean, they hadn't proven themselves yet. So I don't think they had as much, I know they didn't have as much weight. I can't speak to that as much, just because, that I wasn't involved in those conversations. I will say that I have a whole collection of bands doing that pose, not knowing that I took that photo later during the whole craze of Seattle music. There was a lot of bands that tried to follow the formula to get a record deal, and they're like, "Oh, let's do that pose," not knowing that I was the one that shot it.
Oh man, you're like, no, you can't do that, man.
It became pretty funny for a minute, and then it got
25 years later, and those iconic letters end up at the Mopop, and you've got every Pearl Jam fan that visits Seattle taking photos in front of the same mural. So
yeah, well, those letters ended up, they were down at the practice room for years, tucked away under the stairs. And fuck, I was like, what the hell? They kept getting in the way every time I rearranged shit, and they were just finally George came down and got him, and they put him in the archive. Thank God, he did saved him. But yeah, man, I mean, all this stuff happened really fast. If you kind of look, like, I was trying to build my career as a photographer, so I was just saying yes to everything. You know, they invited me on tour like right away. I got to go and do the Cal Palace show in San Francisco.
Oh wow, what a great
Yeah,
show!
Nirvana, New Year's Eve, Nirvana.
Nirvana, Chili
Yeah,
Peppers.
and so you know, I was going to be Leibowitz shooting the Stones. I mean, I had all these like ideas in my head of like, you know, what I was going to do, and I was stoked, man. So I was just like, whatever, wherever this takes me, I'm going, you know. Although I did have kind of these delusions of, you know, I kind of like this glamorous life of being on the road on tour with this big rock band, and I was going to get all these great shots, and I show up, and I swear to God, this is true story. I get there, because I went and I met them. They had already done a few shows, and the first person I meet is the bus driver, who was Dirty Frank. Yeah,
Dirty
and
Frank.
that guy was a fucking asshole. He was so grumpy, and so I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to meet the band. He's like, I don't fucking, he didn't know where the fuck we were. The bus was out in front of the hotel. And so then I kind of like trying to figure shit out. I thought they'd all be hanging out together. You know, I'd hear them in the room. They were all separated. They were all off doing their own thing. And so I meet Eric Johnson, Gunny, and
Yeah.
he took me under his wing right away. He didn't know I was coming, so he was like, "Oh, okay. Well, there's no more room, so you have to stay on the floor." You know, I got the like rookie treatment right away. You know.
So immediately your idea of you know, Ritz Carlton, 5-star hotel,
Oh, yeah.
and being treated with royalty right out the window.
Yeah, it was squashed, man. It was totally squashed. But I did get to ride on the tour bus going back to Seattle. But still, again, that's sacred territory, so I don't overstay my welcome. I was very
What camera did you use? What camera did you use for the Pearl Jam 10 cover?
Oh, I shot that with my 4x5.
Wow.
I had to use
that's like a single sheet each time you take a photo.
That's a big, large format camera. I shot a bunch of 35. I had just gotten my Nikon F3, and so I was shooting on that. But yeah, I shot the cover, and I brought in my own lights from school, on my own strobes. But yeah, I had a 4x5, and that's just like one sheet at a time, transparency, you know. So,
did you keep all the negatives from that shot?
Yeah, Jeff Whitman texted me that question. I was like,
oh yeah,
yeah,
I don't know where they are now, but I mean, I do know where they're just. Yeah, you guys aren't seeing my archive, but it's kind of.
Well, Lance, I'll be over in 2 weeks.
Right.
We'll hang out. You can go.
Yeah, of course I have all that. I have all that stuff. So the whole idea, like as things progressed, was Jeff and Kelly. We talked about the book. You know, like I'm just going to document all this, and it's for the book. And so I retained all the rights to all the photos. They paid for all my expenses,
Which is great.
You know, I was easy to travel with. Like I said, I kept it very. My whole thing was that I didn't want them to know when I was taking photographs unless we were kind of goofing around. But yeah. Anyway, I know we're focusing on 10. I will say that, and it kind of gets back to the initial question you asked. being in this insular bubble in Seattle still, you know, because things hadn't really broken out yet. I had no idea how fast and how big that album got. I really didn't. I don't think anybody did. I mean, they, you know, the band probably did. They were looking at the numbers, but
well, it was a slow roll. If you remember at first, that didn't just shoot out of the gate. It took, you know, for me it was an MTV video, right? You know, I'm a freshman in college at the University of Georgia, and watching a live and even flow, and
right.
it was a 6 month period of 0 to 1,000,000 miles an hour for that band, and then in '91, you know, you know that. So I'm talking about from the release of the album. I'm not talking about from when you were shooting and stuff, but from the release of that album in '91 through, you know, Lollapalooza '92. I mean, talk about shot out of a cannon. That really was that band.
Yeah.
And we're thankful, Lance. We're thankful that you were there to document so much of it. And I can, you know, you already know. I have a wall full of your stuff.
Yeah, you do.
And I'm proud to hang it. And when my friends come over, I love showing that stuff to my friends. And
yeah, I appreciate
you know,
that.
this band, Anthony and I started this show a year ago, almost to the day, out of our love of Pearl Jam. And here we are 30 years later. The band is still around. You're still taking pictures. And I'm so grateful you were there to document that stuff. And I'm grateful that I got to know you through you know, our friend Jeff Redding. And
Yeah.
it's real. And I'm so glad to make time for us today on this show, just to shed some light on that time frame. Because what a special period of time it was for music lovers. You can look
Yeah.
at Liverpool in the '60s, the punk scene in the '70s, LA and metal scene in the '80s, Athens, Georgia in the '80s, and then there's us. There's Seattle in the '90s, and you were there, and I'm grateful for you, buddy. I really appreciate
I
it.
appreciate that, man. I mean, I will say, like, it's real easy to get caught up when you're self-employed, and you probably know this too, is that you get tired, you know, to hustle. Like I've had to hustle my ass off plenty of times. And then there's these moments, and I'm very sincere when I tell people this, where I get people like you or you know, some of the fans that really like are thankful for whatever I can provide to them. They're providing, you know, I'm able to stay getting to do what I love for a living. And I forget, you know, life goes on, and I tend to kind of get on track with other things out, and I forget, you know, there's not a lot of artists, photographers specifically, able to maintain a living off of something like this, like I am. And I'm humbled by that frequently. You know, I mean, shit, this is going to sound so petty and ridiculous, but you know, it's kind of like a band having a hit song. I have some photographs that are really popular, and you know, I get tired of printing those because my mind is like, I want to do something new and creative and stuff.
Right.
So I kind of get burned out on it. But then I'm fucking reminded, I'm like, Jesus Christ, what are you complaining about, man? You got some photographs that have become iconic and that people want to put on their wall. Like, I got nothing to complain about. You know what I'm saying?
And you've got, speaking of, you know, we have a lot of fans watching and listening to the show.
Yes.
So are you still selling stuff? Or they have a way to, like,
yeah, but I
buy?
just posted right before this on my Instagram, and I said, listen to the show and I'll give away some prints. I posted a couple of shots from the 10 session, and I made some 8x10s, which I never sell that size anyway. But you know, I was gonna be like, be the fifth caller, and you get to win. on the morning
Well,
show here with Trey and Jeff. No, I don't know how that could work. I don't know if this is live and people are listening.
yeah. We have right now. We have 547 people tuned in live.
Jesus Christ. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll throw out a trivia question. I'll throw out a trivia question. This one is probably really easy, so I'll do a couple questions. If somebody may comment on what you're look at.
They can, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
who is the artist hanging in the banner behind Eddie? The banner that hung in the studio at London Bridge when they were recording. Don't answer, Trey. You know who it is.
Oh,
I know.
damn,
Damn.
okay.
Yeah, we can't win nothing.
I'll send you something. Jeff is like, what about? Wait, what? How did I? What do I mean?
That's all right. I get it.
Question.
All
And the other one.
right. Anthony's manning the.
I'm manning the board right now. What I'll do is Lance, what we're gonna do is if you want to ask 2 questions, and then I'll get the answers through, and then I will as soon as those answers come in, I'll get them over to you. They're like the address you can
Yeah,
Is it Pete Townsend?
Yeah, that's it. And then
All right,
the other
so
one.
Shannon.
The other one is not having to do with 10 necessarily, but it's, I mean, a lot of these, it kind of sucks. You can't do this anymore because people can just Google this shit. But what punk band was Mike McCready in for one night that opened up for 7 Year Bitch? The name of that band.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
All right, so listen.
Those are 2 questions.
All right, so once I get the answers, Lance, I'll get those addresses over to you. Lance, I can't thank you enough for coming on tonight, and I appreciate everything you do. Your work is amazing. I love it. It's an honor to talk to you. You, Charles Peterson, and Karen Mason Blair have been on my list of people that I wanted. People are trying to call me. People I want to interview, so it's an honor to don't call me to give me the answer. I've had like 7 people try calling me.
Yeah, my Instagram's blown up too.
Well, listen,
I
listen, Lance.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to listen to a song. We have another guest waiting in the green room that's going to come on in just a minute. Lance, thank you so much for coming on.
See you, bud.
Us up. We're going to have to do a full night of stories from you at some point.
Oh yeah, man.
Listen, all for that. Let's go ahead. When the winter time comes and people are like just socked in and they don't want to get off their couch,
Yeah.
we're gonna have you back, Lance, because I have so many questions lined up that I couldn't even get to.
Yeah,
should we answer this Toronto, Ontario that's called like 7 times?
Hey man,
Hold on.
that's your call. Send them to my
Hello.
Give them my information.
I know I got it.
What was it?
Caller number 5.
Who's this?
Caller number 5, he said.
Wait, who is this?
My name's Dustin. I'm in the chat now.
Oh, your name's Dustin? Okay, Dustin, how'd you get my number?
I think it's delayed, like on your.
You looked at my Facebook?
I'm scoring fan.
Oh my God.
All right, Dustin, just send me a text message. I'll get the phone number. I'll get you. Listen, that's
That
guy won. That guy won. That was
caller
that was
number
badass.
5. Lance.
all right, Dustin. We'll get a photo. You text me your address. I'll get it over to Lance. You got a photo.
All right.
Thanks, buddy. All right, bye.
That was
Yeah, buddy.
killer.
Thanks, man.
All right. Let's get into a song and our next
That's
guest,
fun.
Lance. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right. Be well.
All right. All right. And Trey, well,
Whoa!
Women. Oh, Jesus. Got him.
Wow!
God.
Look at the delay.
Good grief, man.
This is like my
What's up,
first
buddy?
dial-up connection. This is awesome.
blame Kansas City.
Yeah. Hey, listen. What? I was at that show, by the way. Drop in the park.
I could see you on the footage. Yeah.
What a great show that was. Everybody, welcome Jeff Whitman from Napa. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, it's
The other
just
wine
like
company?
that. Yeah, we make auto parts down here.
Napa, California.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Famous for auto parts.
Very.
Jeff Whitman, one of my best buddies. We met through our, this is true, we met through our love of Pearl Jam, but we met through the wine business, through some folks that we knew. They're like, oh man, you got to meet this guy. He's a big Pearl Jam fan. I'm like, no one's a bigger Pearl Jam fan than me. And then I met Jeff, and he showed me a pair.
Wait, what did I show you?
Fan than Jeff. So a pair of Eddie's underwear. Remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah. But it was pre-eBay too. Yeah, so tough to get.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, digging deep for
It's
that.
awesome to have you
Cheers,
on here.
cheers to you.
Dude, how cool is that having Lance on here?
I don't know what I did in life to get to be the guest after Lance Mercer, but yeah, pretty cool. He must have had something to do.
It's the same way. It's the same way the concert. You start off really big and then you drop down a little bit. And here's Jeff.
Oh shit!
Right back up. No,
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Jeff is one of the all-time greats. Jeff married Holly and I back in June, and he loves Pearl Jam as much as I do, and we've seen a lot of shows together. And I thought Jeff's a perfect guest to have on. A, he's got a great personality. B, he looks like a goddamn movie star. Look at that hair.
Look at this hair. I
But the story,
hours
he's
in
been
the
following
salon.
the band.
It's done today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
I am
work.
very
He's been following
jealous.
the band.
Very jealous.
He's been following the band as long as us, if not longer. And so he's got some great early Pearl Jam stories. What was your first show again? Was it Orpheum?
So no, my first show was at a club called Avalon in Boston, and I actually had a question before I go into that. You said when this album came out, you were a freshman in college. What were you, 37 years old and a freshman in college? I mean, you're like, there's dirt and then there's you in terms of age.
Hey, listen.
Anthony, back me up on this.
Listen, I was
I have a picture of me holding Keith Richards as a baby. Okay.
I
bet you do.
I was 6 years old. I was six. Like
6.
right in first grade.
Wow.
Yeah, when this
Yeah.
album came
Wow.
out. So yeah, Trey was 40, going on 41.
Yeah,
But I can't
and
knock him
still-
too much because son of a bitch has got nice hair and doing real well for himself, and my ass is bald and look like I'm 65.
Well, life is not fair, Anthony.
I'm working.
It's just
I'm working there, buddy.
it was summer of '91, and Avalon was the place. It was actually, I think, certain nights of the week it was called City. It's on Lansdowne Street, right behind Fenway Park, and I had to look up the date because, quite frankly, I was about a month and a week away from my 20th birthday. So I think I was a sophomore in college, and everything for that whole period of time is, like, to say it's a blur is being kind to blurs,
Yes.
But I had to look it up because the album hadn't dropped yet. And you like almost everybody, I mean, I heard it live, on the radio, I think on either WAAF or WBCN, Great Boston rock stations at the time. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, it, spoke to me immediately. I mean, as did so much of that music from the period, which is why I still listen to, I can't listen to new music. I still listen to that. Like, I know you listen to more new music than I do, and you don't listen to much, so, but then I saw them again in April of '92, and I was working a service bar, in this club right like 2 doors up the street on Lansdowne. I think it's like 2 doors. And that was at a place called Axis. And they opened for the Lemonheads. And I want to say, or no,
Oh,
I
wow.
think that was the Dawn show. Sorry, yeah, somebody's going to call us out on it. That was the first show that they opened for the Lemonheads before 10 had dropped. And Buffalo Tom, which is cool because I think they brought out a guy from Buffalo Tom when we were at Fenway Park.
Yes, the lead singer. What's his name? Shit, I don't know. He's been on the show too. I feel bad.
Anthony, didn't you go to school in Boston? Or
I'm from. I lived in Braintree, so I'm a Braintree guy. And if you're familiar with Boston, if you were on the T, you know that there's a Braintree stand, Braintree stop, there's a Braintree stop, last stop. That's it. That's it. Get the fuck off. They want you off. That's it. That's it.
I was on the Green Line. I went to Northeastern, so I was I was in the
nice.
Back Bay. I was
I gotta ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm doing math here. You said you were so you're in your 50s?
I turned 50 last Wednesday.
What the fuck happened with my genes? I look like I'm 97 years old, and you and Trey look like you're just maybe in your late 30s.
Oh,
we're both in the wine business.
that's right.
Is that what it is?
There's a connection. It is.
Yeah, but it has something to do with it. Yeah.
Or the tequila business is.
Yeah. I'm drinking tequila. Yeah.
Jeff, what are you drinking, buddy?
I'm drinking a little. I'll give him a plug, even though there are no plugs. I'm drinking a little Casamigos Reposado, brought to you by the fine folks at.
There we go. I like it.
Yeah, I'm a little more because I could have said really like, can you get Lance back and I'll just go back in the waiting room and listen to him.
Well, I was, me and Trey threw this shit together really quickly. Like, hey, we'll have guests on, and then like guests change every so often. And then today it was like we have a gentleman coming on in a little bit who was the original engineer for 10. That's coming on here short in a little bit. And he's going to bring stories back of like working on that album and being an engineer for it. But it's just crazy that there's people out there with these stories of like being a part of this album. And, at that time, not realizing how special it was going to be. And then as quickly as it was being produced and putting it together, like how quickly it changed the lives of so many people. Right.
Oh,
like,
man. Completely.
All these people tuning in right now. The only reason I'm talking to these people or talking to you or even know Trey is because of this album, right? Like the reason I vacation
100%.
and go to these shows is because of this album.
100%.
Yeah, it really was remarkable.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead. I was just saying, it really was remarkable because there's so few events, I think, at least in my life, up to September 11th, that I could tell people exactly where I was. And I remember exactly, people have that Kennedy moment where they could tell you exactly where they were. I remember where I was when I first heard Alive. I was in my friend's car and we were headed out to Watertown, Massachusetts. And I think smoking dope. I'm guessing. But we were just like, like, what was that? Who is that? And then, you're 3 songs in before they tell you. It's like, oh yeah, it was a new one from a band called Pearl Jam out of Seattle. And I was just like, how is this happening now? And I remember it so well. And I think I posted on Instagram a year ago now, but I found my cassette of 10 because I actually bought it on cassette first because this guy's car, my roommate's car, had a cassette player. And we would listen to it. And then when
TV player,
yeah. And then when my roommate we lived in this big house, and a couple of my college buddies I think are on here, Justin from Boston, if you're on here, when we lived in the house of regrets, like if you didn't have any regrets, you didn't live there. But we lived in that house, and my roommate, if those walls could talk, they'd scream. My roommate Jeremy, believe it or not, and I went to Newberry Comics on Newberry Street, and I think he owes the band some royalties because I'm 95% sure he stole that CD.
Son of a bitch.
Listening to my cassette tape, and
he did what?
Well, I think my friend stole the CD from Newberry Comics in Boston, and comes out with it like in his pants, and that thing was on our CD player for a solid year. It was not. We're not allowed to change.
Yeah,
it was it. So yeah, big album,
Yeah.
big meaningful. And somebody said to me the other day, it was another one of my East Coast friends said, "Oh yeah, that's easily the most important and best Pearl Jam album." And I said, historically, I agree. I disagree with the statement because to me, the most important and best Pearl Jam album is the last one, is the most recent one that they released. And I say that every time there's a new release because
Every
you don't know
time.
when it's going to be the last one,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
I-
30
I-
years
I-
later,
I-
since 10.
Yeah.
So 30
Yeah.
years since 10's come out, and you're talking about how important it was to you at that point, listening to it, having it in the CD player, how it was incorporated into your life. 30 years later, how important is that album still to you to this day?
oh man, I mean, so important to me still. I probably listen to it more. I always say like Vitalogy is my favorite album, and I think that's a moment in life. Like the things were going pretty good for me at the time. I was living in Santa Barbara. Vitalogy came out. I had seen them just recently. Then I saw them again, I think in LA at the Greek. And I was really into Pearl Jam. I mean, I still am, but I was so into them then. But I think when I listen to 10, just like probably anybody watching or listening, it's like, it can take me back to that moment. And it takes you back to like, I remember, the big song that played at my high school prom in June of 1989 was like a Milli Vanilli song. Like that was good music in 1989. And then Soundgarden and Nirvana, and I saw the Chili Peppers at the University of New Hampshire with my friend Jill Letty, and we were freshmen in college. Like we drove up from Boston to go see that show. So 1989, obviously this record coming out, and also just to go back and listen to it on vinyl for me is like, it's the best, man. It just having to turn it over and spin the black circle, man. It's wild.
So today, 10 came out on Dolby Atmos. It's the first time it's been restored in a Dolby Atmos sound since its release. So it's in a unique platform. I actually got to listen to it today in Dolby Atmos, and it was like listening to it for the first time. It was, I mean, it really is pretty impressive, but it just shows you, I don't know, this album it is really special and powerful, and what it can do and how it brings people together, and it is amazing. It is nice to hear all these Boston towns we speak of this evening because everyone talks about Seattle, so it's nice to hear. It's nice to hear about this.
It's
Well, I
100%
remember,
why Jeff and I know each other. I mean, it's the
100%.
reason that Jeff and I know each other, because Jeff was going to exist in his wine world down in Napa, and I was up here in Washington. But it was a mutual friend of ours that knew about our mutual love of this band that put us together. And
so funny.
We met. Was it Pearl Jam 20?
Yeah, we literally did like email and like telephone dating for a couple of years, I think.
Nice.
We hadn't met in person, and then when we did, it was so utterly disappointing. No, I'm just kidding. It was so like I found my brother.
Jeff was sending me selfies of a different person, and I'm like, yeah,
right.
It was like catfish before catfish.
That's right. It was weird though. Trey kept swiping and coming back to the same picture. And then who would have thought that I would have performed this fraudulent and illegal wedding here in Sonoma? I mean, there's nothing. Those are not real vows.
I literally I took his word that he was actually an ordained minister in California. I have no idea if he was or not. I didn't see his license. I didn't ask to see any proof. He just said it was good.
I
hope we are married.
I think I also told you I was a race car driver when I first met you. I don't know. I told you a lot of things, but it's what you choose to believe, Trey.
You did.
Yeah.
Hey,
no, we would be screwed, man. I wouldn't know.
I'm very grateful for this band for a lot of reasons, and you are for sure one of them, buddy. You're one of the best.
Man, right back at you, man. I think of what my life would be like if I didn't know you. I wouldn't know so many great people, and that's what this band does too. Is like very rarely do you meet someone who's a Pearl Jam fan and they're just an asshole. That's the commandment, right? Just don't be an asshole. It's like there's and there are some, and we've seen some at shows, but all the people that I've been connected to, and whether it's you and that great group of people that you are so close with and have introduced me to, or Tim or any of the folks that are connected with the band, and our relationships with them, it's like it's really special, man. I don't think there's a lot of bands that have that story with their fans that Pearl Jam does, and I think and to be able to keep it going for so long and to be able to do such good work for so long and put on so many shows, and the shows are so good. I mean, that Wrigley show, that first Wrigley show, besides being roofied the night before, was maybe one of the most epic shows of all time.
It was. That was the lightning bolt show. Hey, real quick, I know Anthony, you ready to move on? I do want to say something real quick. If you guys can see behind Jeff right now, he's got this great photo of Eddie on his wall back there, and Jeff took that picture with from Bottle Rock.
That was at Ohana.
Ohana about 3 or 4 years ago. And if you guys are interested in looking at some of Jeff's photos, Jeff, where can we see those?
Most easily today in your tasting room in Soto, but my website will be up. I'm such a newbie neophyte to look up to guys like Lance and Danny Clinch and these guys who have done such amazing work for so long. I'm fortunate in what I do to get to take some photos like this, and I've started to get a little portfolio together. So at some point soon, Jeff Whitman Photography, Jeff with a GEOFF Whitman Photography.com. It's actually there. It's just not live because I can't quite figure out how to get one of the links working. But as soon as it's up,
Anthony can help you with that. Anthony,
send me a message. I'll take care of it. Hey, so do you have any prints for sale that people can buy?
I do some fine art prints. I've actually got a show in one of our tasting rooms right now. So thank you for asking. You can just, anyone who is interested, just hit up Trey. Just text Trey. Because everybody has your number.
You guys hit me up. I'll put you in touch with Jeff.
Yeah,
happy
perfect.
to.
Thank you so much for that.
All right, we got to roll on. We got another video show. We got another guest about to jump in.
Yes.
Okay.
In the waiting room, what we're gonna do is, first of all, nice to meet you, Jeff. We'll talk soon. I want to hear more stories. We have our next guest in the waiting room. I can see his face. What we're gonna do is we're gonna play another song and then go right into him and hear about the days of recording 10. So guys, stay tuned. And here is another song from the album we all love. And we're back, and this time with another guest, and I'm really excited about this. I have Dave Hillis, who worked on the album 10, who I stalked online, sent him a message. We had a conversation. I said, hey, I have this show. We drink wine, we talk about Pearl Jam, but I would love to know about your experience working on the album. So, Dave, thank you so much for taking time to come talk to myself and Trey. First, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Doing fine. Lots of
Is it crazy?
Dave, it's great to meet you, Dave. I'm loving all the records behind you back there. But we have a mutual friend, Raj Parashar, is a friend of mine that I met of all things through the wine business.
Yeah,
and so I don't know if you tracked Raj after he left London Bridge, but
oh yeah,
he
we're
ended
very
up
close. So.
Yeah, he bought a vineyard in Eastern Washington, and
I've
bought
been out there
grapes
many
from Raj
times.
from a few years. And so he's just an absolutely amazing guy. He built my tasting room out for me, redid my floors in my tasting room, built my tasting room bar.
Oh yeah, it sounds like a rock.
The biggest sweetheart of a guy you'll ever meet. It's great to meet you, Dave.
Great to meet you as well.
Dave, so today being the 30th anniversary of this album that you had the opportunity to work on back 30 years ago, when you think of this album as a whole, what does it mean to you as someone who worked on it?
Gosh, being so close to it, I just have such probably a different relationship with it, I guess, than a lot of people. And it wasn't until years later that I really even started to digest the fact of how big of a success it was. A lot of what was different for me too is that I was a struggling musician too. I was trying to make it in the industry as well as an artist, and so and that we all came from the same background there, and all like in the same rehearsal rooms and same parties and same friends and things like that. And so caught up just working and in the business itself that like really like years later, especially being in Seattle, I didn't really, I don't know, it just didn't really set in. It was more when I started working outside of Seattle or even outside the country where I realized, wow, this is like way bigger thing than I thought. I mean, I remember not even putting it on my discography for a while. I didn't even like think it was like that big of a deal. So now I have a whole different way of looking back on it and interpreting it now, especially since things have changed so much in record making and the technology and the way things are done. Like I look back on that record now and realize, wow, we were really practicing the art of making records, and how good, specifically with them, how good of a band they were. I just kind of took it all for granted. How like laser focused and determined and just so into the music, almost as people kind of discuss Prince sometimes. It's like that, they just really lived it. And honestly, working with so many newer bands and decades later, I'm like, I'll get a lot of times people be like, well, you did Pearl Jam, how come it's not like that? And you just like, because you're not
Pearl Jam.
And it was a different way of making records then. We had no Pro Tools, no nothing. It was you had to play those parts, and get them right. There's a limited
Dave
fixing things with editing, but not much, not like today.
Last weekend, I was in London Bridge with Eric, who's one of the new owners of London Bridge as of a few years ago, and what a great guy he is. He's been on the show several times with Anthony. We tried to get him on tonight. He may jump on at the end, but I have no idea. But I've been in that studio 3 or 4 times now, and first of all, I love recording studios. I've been to Ardent and Memphis, Suns, Stax, Royal, Muscle Shoals, Fame. I've been up in Detroit. I love walking into music studios because there's a feeling you get as an energy, and it has to do with the artists that have walked through the doors. And this past Saturday, I took my friend from Memphis, Tony Bounds, who was in town, and my wife Holly. We got to go up there and walk through London Bridge again. And you know that Neve board is still there, and obviously there's some cool new Pro Tools shit and all that stuff. But that original Neve board is there. The room is the room, right? You can't change the sound of that room. And it's the way that Raj. Were you there when Rick and Raj built that place out? By the way,
I'd been in the studio like right after they built it. I wasn't working there yet. I'd been there for we were looking for my band at the time. We were looking for places to record, and I'd been to like a Queensryche autograph party there, like different
yeah,
before I
like
actually
Queensryche.
there. And then I actually did a demo there, and that's what kind of got me. Ended up being how I ended up working there.
I love that Eric was relaying some stories about how Raj. I mean, he built that place from the ground up. I mean, it's in the back of a industrial looking building north of Seattle. You drive by it 1,000 times and have no idea it's back there. And you drive in the back.
Actually as a tape. He was just duplicating tapes. That's how he kind of started it, and then one thing led to another, and then you know how Raj he knew Raj.
Yes,
he's got to make it bigger and better. So
yeah. So when you were recording 10, and the band came in to record that, start to finish, was this a 1 month? Was this a 3 month? How long did this process last?
Well, now they had been, they'd already done Temple, and they've already, and Stone and Jeff had done Love Bone there with, outside producers and stuff like that. So they were familiar with the place. And, honestly, there was just no other studio in town that had a Neve in a room like that, and a studio tape machine. Just those are your meat and potatoes of making a great record at the time. And them not really wanting to deal with LA or go to LA and being able to have that in their backyard like that, it was making a lot of sense to do it there. But yeah, I mean, when they came in, so it was Stone, if I remember the whole story right, and I was around, I'd see Stone all the time. Like I said, we were at the same parties, the same friends and all that. So I kind of saw this all going on. And I know that he went to Reciprocal recording and done a couple writing things just him, and I think he had maybe Chris Friel, maybe Matt came and played some drum stuff on it, and then they ended up coming to London Bridge, and if I remember, we did 2 different month-long demos, if I remember right. So, which is interesting because if you think about it, like a band now getting a month in the studio is that's a lot of time. Nobody does it.
A lot of time.
So, then if you had a label that was, financing demos, that wasn't such a big, and to me, that's what makes a lot of things different now. We don't have the time in studios like we did then. If you got lucky enough to have a label believe in you and give you that kind of money. But so we had those where they were, really putting the songs together more so than say playing live or rehearsals, because, the band was more formed, because of coming out of Love Bone. It wasn't really a band formed, say, on the road or playing the clubs necessarily. So they had to kind of play catch up with that, it seemed like. But so we did that, and then we started the record. I'm thinking the record was somewhere maybe 5 weeks, 4 to 6. Can't quite remember.
Okay.
Something like that. Maybe 4, maybe.
But almost every day. I mean, are you in there
yeah.
7?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It was. Yeah, it was really. I mean, it was just work. Like there was no, people say, "Hey, was any crazy story?" And there's no. It's all kind of boring because it was just work. They
you were doing your job.
Yeah, I mean, Stone would bike ride in some days, and it was just very. Just they came and they played. Whether it was 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, we were playing all till 2 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever, just all day trying to get the right takes is what the whole first part of the record was about getting the take. We had such a huge, giant stack of 2-inch tape. Like their tape budget was huge because they wanted to get the take. And we kept so many takes that a lot of it ended up being listening. A lot of time we spent was listening back to finding those right takes out of all the different versions. So that was a process there. And then, but it was a no frills record, it was not studio wizardry or anything. It was just, moved on to solos, moved on to a few fixes, and just getting the vocal army.
And you were, and that album was recorded. It was by track. It wasn't. It was not a live studio.
No, it was they were the basics were. It was generally a live record, and then we overdubbed. So if there was guitar solo overdubs, and maybe if we added an extra guitar track or a clean part over the dirty part or something like that, it was overdubbed. But your basics, they were trying to get everything as live, and it was all about feel. Like the whole thing was like getting the take that felt good, and really like sticklers about it. Like
I did read that Even Flow, they had like 60 or 70 takes.
Oh, that was all. I particularly remember that because that was literally an all. Well, I don't know if you heard the story. I've done an interview with this story before, but that song was going all day, and I remember Rick, the producer, he was he was like, going home, keep the tape rolling, get a take, let me know how it goes, see you in the morning. I'm like, all right, so we're going all day, and it's got to be like 2 in the morning or something, and I hear just changing reels and taking new takes, starring the ones I thought were Rick should probably hear tomorrow, and we'll go over them. That was kind of the work progress there, and but so at the end of the night, I hear this sound. I'm just in the control room by myself, and they're out there playing. And I hear this sound, which is the sound of the tape running out.
Oh shit!
And spinning, with the. So I go, oh man, okay. And I go, well, they've done it 1,000 times. They're going to do another one, because there's no way. And all of a sudden, it ends, and I hear this. That's it. That's the one, and I'm just like, holy.
Oh shit! Yeah.
So I, so I just they're starting to walk in and come in to hear it and stuff, and I'm like, hey guys, go, chill in the lobby for a second. Let me just get a mix up. Let me just, da da da. So I grabbed the reel where I had a star in one of the takes and just quickly sliced while I'm staring out the window, sliced the end on another take and put it on. And then they're coming in. Sure. And then so I had it cranked really loud. They're in there, and I was standing by the tape machine because you can sometimes, if you're playing it low, you can hear the edit go by as the splicing tape will go by the heads, and they'll go. And I didn't want him to see it or hear it, and so so luckily like it goes by and it ends, and they're like, yeah, great, all right, and that was the end of the night. And then I just didn't say anything about it, And I remember like weeks later, like me and Rick are in the control room, and we're working, and he notices, and he goes, did we edit that track? I go, yeah, remember? We edited that one,
Yeah, man.
Moved on. Yeah. So that one, I never told really. That was just that was one I just got away with. But there was other times too, when I'd be editing and I'd forget. There were so many reels. I'd have one here, one here, one here. And then I'd just, I'd start spacing or something, or it's late, and I'm like, oh my God, where am I? Which one? And I'd be calling Rick going, dude, I'm sorry, I don't know where I'm at. Thinking I'm going to get, yelled at or fired or something.
Well, I think the band still has every single recording of those tapes in the vault. I mean, I've
they were at the studio for a long time. I remember them all of a sudden going, "Hey, where are the tapes?" And we're like,
"Yeah." No, the band took those back to their vault. Yeah. It's in there too. I've seen it, man. It's like it's 3 shelves
Yeah, there's
Mookie
time.
Blaylock tape.
We had that window.
That's
If you've
it.
been in London Bridge, the window from the control room out to the, you can kind of see into the lobby that you couldn't see.
Yeah.
It was just all tapes.
Yeah. Oh man.
Dave, when you look
Well,
back,
what a-
when you
what
look,
a-
They were adamant about getting the right take, man. That was their thing.
Dave, when you look back
And
at,
who was the perfectionist? Was it Eddie or was it Stone? Was it Jeff? Were they all
You know,
looking at that to be like
it was-
get the right one?
Stone and Jeff were the, you know, those were the heart of the band then, you know, but they were the most experienced, you know. Those are the two guys. They'd already made records, you know. They knew.
Right. And already made Mother Love Bone.
Yeah,
right
they've
there,
been. I mean,
so-
they've been around. They've done records, whether it was indie or major.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
know, they knew what they were doing. They had a vision for sure.
Were you there for Temple? Were you there for Temple the Dog?
What's that?
Were you there for Temple the
I
Dog?
came in when Rick was mixing it, and that's when I started
Okay.
like officially kind of working for Rick.
Yeah. Okay.
when you look back at this album and everything you've done, how important is this album in your career compared to everything else?
Well, it's definitely the biggest record. I mean, well, the Alice in Chains, stuff like that. But, you know, I tell you, like for a while in the beginning, it didn't mean any. I mean, it didn't help me get a job or anything. I couldn't get hit by a bus, really. Later on, you know, it's definitely a door opener, I'd say, you know, or you get some like people might take it kind of seriously, but you know, didn't like. I mean, it definitely, if I didn't have it, I don't think I could have gotten into some things I did, or just it gave me some credibility, let's put it that way. So,
Right.
Now-
I mean,
now I-
it's you know, I mean, it's cool to be part of a record that's considered a classic now and stuff like that. So, that's
Now, I did see while looking on your Instagram, you have a piece of history that was a part of 10 that you've restored. Is that correct?
you referring to the drumhead or what?
Isn't there a piece of equipment that was using the recording process?
Well, yeah, I have. That's a little thing, 850 pound little thing. No, I have the the original recorder, the Studer A800 tape machine that, well, all the records that were done at London Bridge were recorded onto. After Raj had sold the studio, he kept the tape machine just for archiving and different reasons like that. And so, what, about 4 years ago, you know, we were talking. I go, "Hey, what's up with the machine?" And he goes, "I don't know. It's sitting in my garage," you know. And I'm like, well, "Man, I should buy it off you." And it's kind of jokingly, really. I didn't really think anything of it. And he called me a couple days later. He goes, "You know, I was talking to my parents, and we think you should have it. You know, if you want to come get it,
Wow.
you can have it. You deserve it. You know, you're a part of it all." And da da da. And I was like really moved by that. So I got a truck and got it. And yeah, so it's been it's been difficult just because there's not a lot of people that work on those machines left anymore. And but yeah, I finally have it completely restored. All tracks are working, and that's pretty cool. And so
That's amazing. That's
yeah,
just
it's got
so
a
cool,
lot of
man.
history.
Are you, Dave? Are you still?
No,
in
I
Seattle?
moved to Pittsburgh 4.5 years ago. My wife's from out here. And, I had my mother had passed away, different things, and it was just kind of like time to kind of move to the Northwest. Or I wanted to try. It was just time to do something different, and ended up coming out here and It's been great meeting new people with the right studios. Kind of been lucky being in the right scenes and places at the right time, like Seattle, LA, or whatever. I've been lucky going there at the right times, and so yeah, it's been kind of a nice little new shot in the arm for what I'm, you know, career-wise. And people out here that seem to really appreciate the novelty of coming from Seattle and having all this history. So,
What else have you worked on in your career that's that we would know about?
well, let's see. The ones that are recognizable. I did I did a lot of work with Greg Dooley and the Afghan Wigs and some.
Oh, he's one of my all-time favorite artists. I love Greg so much, and that band is amazing.
Yeah,
They are fantastic.
I worked on 1965 record, and then I co-produced with them and engineered his Twilight Singers, his side project.
Oh, so Twilight Singers, all-time top 5 band.
Yeah, I did one of
fucking
their
Sean
records,
Smith.
and we had Mark Flanagan on that. That was fun. That was a good one. Yeah, 65 was a fun one we did in New Orleans. That was, oh my God, a month in New Orleans with Greg Dooley. If you can survive that, you can survive it.
Yeah, he loves that town, and Greg has a history for sure with his debauchery.
We also did a project together where we produced. He produced Dennis Leary's one of his comic records, which at Electric Lady in New York, and now that was a cool project, a different type of project, but really fun. And then I've done some stuff in England. I did James Blunt. That was a huge
Wow.
thing. Some various other stuff. I don't,
Damn, you've been everywhere.
Yeah, I've been just lots of bands in between.
When
That's
you
awesome.
when you were working with Greg Dooley of the Afghan Wigs, were you working in L.A. or were you? I know you went to New Orleans for that one album
We did 1965 was done in New Orleans, and then we did one song up in London Bridge that was just me and him.
Oh, okay.
That was what's it called? Come On Little Rabbit, Show Me What You Got. It was a single off 1965. We did that at London Bridge. The rest of the record was in New Orleans. And then the Twilight Singers we did all down in L.A. at the guys from Blind Melon. They had a studio, Christopher and Brad from Blind Melon.
And Blind Melon worked out of London Bridge as well. Were you there when Blind Melon?
I was. I didn't work on that record. That was John, but I became really good friends with all of them and did some stuff.
Yeah. Have you seen the documentary yet that Danny Clinch did?
I've seen all kinds of clips and stuff, but I was really pretty tight with Shannon and Christopher and Brad and Rogers, all of them. Rogers played on some things for me. Other projects I did, I hired him to do some stuff. Me and Brad did stuff together, and then, like I said, I worked in their studio a number of times. And when I was living in LA, I'd take work over there because I knew them and they had a great place. Me and Shannon did stuff back on ADATs and messing around, and
what an amazing life you've lived, Dave. It's all the people you've met, all the music you've had. You made an impact on the world through the work you've done with the artists and bands. It's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, the whole time I was just trying to make my own band happen, but everybody else is.
Well, through other channels, your name may not roll off the tongues when you hear the Twilight Singers or the Afghan Wigs or Pearl Jam 10, but
no, I've been lucky.
Just through this 15, 20 minutes, we realize what an impact you've had on us, because I love all those bands, and that stuff wouldn't be possible without your help on that. I'm super appreciative, man.
I appreciate
Well, I gotta ask one. I have one question. You said you worked with Brad, correct?
Brad Smith?
No.
Or the band Brad? No, I was referring to Brad from Blind Melon. Although I did work with Sean a number of times.
Sean's amazing.
Yeah, I did some.
That's what I want to ask about.
Yeah, I worked on some.
Sorry, not to cut you. There's got to be a delay or something because I feel like I'm cutting off everybody. But with Sean Smith, the story I've heard from a lot of people that work with him was that he was an intoxicating singer, and people got lost into him performing, especially in the studio. Was that something that you can attest to?
Yeah, well, Sean's funny in the studio because he knew exactly what he wanted. He had his thing. He knew what he wanted, and another guy, very focused on his stuff. But it was funny when with him singing, he was so shy to sing. Like we would have to build these big walls and tents around him and cover him because you couldn't look at him, you couldn't see him. You don't want him.
Painfully shy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
well, listen,
I liked working with Sean a lot. So.
Well, listen, Dave.
I miss that guy so much.
Yeah, amazing singer. Unfortunately, I never got. I mean, amazing singer and left a huge impact on the world of music.
Such a sweet
Dave,
guy.
first of all, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me today and doing this and being a part of history of this album and this impact that it has on this community that's all tuning in. So I appreciate that. Dave, I really feel like this is another one where I feel like we're going to have you on again and dig deep into more than 15 or 20 minutes of your story, because I feel like we're missing so much and we can learn so much from you. So maybe we'll definitely have to have you on again.
Yeah, sounds great.
Just
All right,
to dig you in. Well,
all right.
we're
Well,
gonna go back.
thanks for having me on. Thanks for thinking of me.
It's nice
No
to meet you,
problem.
Dave. It really is. I look forward to meeting you in person one day.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All
All right,
bud.
let's go into another song from 10, and then we're supposed to be having another guest or 2 or 3. And here's another song from 10.
Oh, please don't go out on me. Don't go on me now. Never acted up before. Don't go on me now. I swear I never took it for granted. Just started it now. Suppose I abused you. Just passing it on. Duh. Fuck. What's passing survival? Naked and sharp. Moving on so swiftly with such disarm. I pulled the covers over here. Should have pulled the alarm. Turn to my nemesis, a fool on fucking God. Dumb. Please don't go on me. Don't go on me. Don't go on me. Don't go on me. Please do this. Fuck. Burn. Show. Please, please, please. Don't go on me. Don't go on me. Don't go on me. Don't go on me. Don't you want me? Don't go on me. Don't go on me. How about that coat?
Well, what a night so far.
Wow, that's crazy. First of all, what a lineup of guests. I mean, Lance, Jeff, Dave. You know, it's almost too much to comprehend. The fact that we're even able to talk to someone like Lance and Dave, you know what I mean? It's pretty cool. And have them share their stories with us and with the fans that are watching and listening. It's just incredible because they have a different insight into the music and the band that we love so much. And we hear the final product. They're there on the backside of it, seeing this stuff happen in real time, and to hear the stories from both of them is remarkable. And it's a jump back in history, and it's great. And I'm glad we had the show to be able to share that stuff with folks. That's great.
Well, I think we have our next guest, but he's audio only, if I'm correct. Paul, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, crystal clear. So, Trey, let me introduce you to Paul Wirt. Paul has been a friend of mine, God, for about 100 years. We were in quite a few bands together back in the early 2000s, and he is my go-to guy for going to see Pearl
Was this
Jam
the
with.
boy band? Was this the boy band you were talking about? You were
That is
in?
correct. Me and Paul were in a boy band called Enter.
I remember that.
And we
Yeah.
didn't wear that. That's when we were much skinnier. We didn't wear shirts. A lot of people were fans of us. Nowadays, we keep our shirts on. Isn't that correct, Paul?
They were called. I believe you were called Out of Sync. Is that right?
Yeah. I don't think any of that's right, but okay.
Paul, you were on drugs then. Fine, you don't remember. It's
Yeah.
okay.
The reason I'm having Paul on here is so I always enjoyed Pearl Jam, and I really attest that to my dad's ex-girlfriend, which is a funny story. But I was hoping to have her on here, but that didn't work out. But because that would have been great, but she wouldn't. She didn't come on anyway. But in 2004, after moving down from Boston to Stanton, Virginia, I met Paul, and we became friends through music. And being in bands and us connecting as friends, Pearl Jam has been probably the I guess the glue that's really kept our friendship together. Because even if we don't talk for a long period of time, it's this is something we go back to, and we always I visited him in Phoenix when he was living there. We saw Pearl Jam together. We've seen Pearl Jam in Philadelphia together. I mean, all over up and down the East Coast. And one thing I never asked him, and this is why I asked him to come on, is I really want to know to him, someone that Pearl Jam has been a big part of his life for his whole time. Paul, when you hear the words Pearl Jam and think of it as retrospective, what it means to you as a person, what does Pearl Jam mean to you as a fan?
Oh, it means something different now, of course, than it did like when I heard 10 for the first time or whatever. Like back then, it would have just been probably something like a new band or whatever I was excited about. I was like, oh, these guys are pretty cool and everything. And then it just grows and snowballs from there because they've been around for so long now. Now it's more like, this big community, this whole family that we have, and you see all your friends at the shows and you're excited to see everybody because it's been so long now. And it's more about the communal experience than the band almost now. But I mean, they are what brings us together. The music is what brings everybody there. They have such a catalog now of so many different songs and so many different feelings for everybody to get into, that there's something for everybody with this band. There's not just one kind of sound. It's so many different things that they have going for them now. They've evolved so much and done so much in 30 years. It's amazing, really. I mean, they mean so many things to so many people, but I think for me, it just means the community that they've built, that is built around them, of the fans, and how they've kept them going for so long, and they've kept us going for so long. So this means, I guess that's what it means. So.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I always feel like Trey's gonna ask a question and then I'm gonna talk over him. So I don't know. That was a dead air, but Paul, I know you've been a fan for a very long time, and you've seen him quite a bunch, and you've seen him everywhere. And you made a great point about what the idea of the community and what Pearl Jam has brought us all together, and how community is important. I know that you're going to be at See Her Now Festival, and you're going to be at Shorestock, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well, performing and stuff. But what does it mean to you? Because you were at the last show, like I was in Boston, so was Trey. It's been 3 years, right? It's been 3 years since we've seen this band. How important is it for you to see them live? Especially coming up on a 3-year hiatus.
Well, it's that catharsis that we've been missing. It's just this emotional, quote unquote. It's going to be a release for everybody. It's just going to be this big sigh. This big sigh. It's going to be like, this is what we've been waiting for.
Paul. It was a release. That's a great answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's healing through the music. We've been missing it, and we've needed it more now than ever, I think, with everything that's been going on. over the last couple of years. And I know there's still a lot of stuff going on out there that we should be concerned about and vigilant about, but I think we still need what's coming. So I think we need to forge ahead and be as careful as we can. But we've got stuff to look forward to too, which is great. So.
Well, and if anyone doesn't know, Paul Wirt, he performed not only with me. I mean, that's important, but he performed at Rocking for a Cure back in April, and it was an amazing thing, and I really appreciate you doing that for me, and raising money for Parkinson's disease. That was really important. And Paul is going to be playing at Shorestock, which is going to be the night before See Her Now Festival and we're going to be and the event Shorestock, which is going to have Paul Wirt. Musicians that went through the Project Matters program, which we're raising money for, that gives instruments and music lessons to kids that don't have the opportunity to have the money to purchase those things. That's what we're raising money for. The U.S. Americans and some surprise guests will be playing at the Saint, starting at 5 o'clock and all the way through the evening. Paul's going to be playing there. And I'm really excited about that. And Paul, before we let you go, I just want to say this. Especially like this, we've been friends for a long ass time, and Pearl Jam has been there for a lot of it. But I really do appreciate you and your what you've done for the community, because I know you've done a lot, especially not just for me but from other people. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you perform in a few weeks and getting to hang out with you again, buddy.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. Looking forward to it. It's gonna be good to play out again, and hope to see everybody there in New Jersey. Stay safe,
Paul. I hope to get to meet you one day.
Yeah, are you going to be there?
Unfortunately, we're not going to be to See Here Now. We're hopefully going to make it down. Well, we have tickets to Ohana Encore weekend at Dana Point, and we're still keeping our fingers crossed that that's going to happen. So
yeah, hopefully you guys will be able to enjoy that. So.
I hope so, but regardless, we'll meet one day. I know it.
Oh, it's on the books. Yeah, we'll meet for sure.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Definitely, Paul. All right, so we're gonna go into another song from 10. Then me and Trey are gonna come in the back end. We've invited some guests. If they come or not, I have no idea. We're just going through a Rolodex of people. But here is another song from the album we all love.
Empty canvas, We belong together, together. We belong together.
Now, first of all, that was amazing.
Man, oh man.
Second of all, now I need to know
Hey,
one thing.
yeah, 4B. If you want to invite Tony Bounds on, you gotta send me that link so I can forward to him.
I'll send it to you right now.
So I will.
Well, while I'm doing that, why don't you tell me, when you think of the album
Yeah.
10, what it means to you?
Yeah, I mean, what a broad question, right? It's an album that changed my life. I had we did a wine club event last night, which I do once a month on Zoom with our wine club members, and we break down a vineyard, a wine that we make. We bring a chef on that has paired a dish to go with a wine, but I always finish it off with an album. And last night, and we make this calendar out in advance, and so in January I had said that it was going to be Van Halen 1 for this show. And when you and I were planning this show, I made a game day decision, and I changed last night's album from Van Halen 1 to Pearl Jam 10 because I wanted to talk about it a little bit before you and I had this show tonight. And I just told the folks that were on our Zoom call last night that this album really truly changed my life. If this band hadn't come along, and I was going to school in Athens, Georgia, University of Georgia. I was a sophomore. It was 1992, the spring of 92. And I had, was 4 or 5 months into listening to this album, and they came through and played in Athens. And I saw that show, and this show was cut short. Eddie's voice was terrible. He had played 20 nights in a row or something. I mean, really hard to sing these songs like he does. And they ended up playing maybe 5 or 6 songs before they had to cut it short. But listening to those songs live, after listening to it on my CD for the past 5 or 6 months in a row, affected me so much that essentially 2 weeks later, I called my mom and dad. I dropped out of school, packed up my car, and I moved to Seattle. And had that show never happened and had this band never happened, I can guarantee you I'd still be living in Atlanta, or, all my friends live there. My family lives there. I had nothing to complain about while I was living there. I loved living in Atlanta at the time. I loved going to school in Athens, and everything I knew was there. But that's how much the music spoke to me. And I felt like I had to be there for what was going to be happening and what was happening, live. I never would have gotten into the wine business. I never would have met Holly, although I like to say that I would have found her in a second life or a third life or a fifth life or whatever. But, it's all those little decisions that you make in your life, the butterfly effect, right? And the butterfly effect that Pearl Jam's had on me has been immense. And this album is everything to me. And so, it was truly the game changer for me. So I'll never have a bad thing to say about this album. It stands the test of time. 30 years later, when Jeff made the point that, what's your favorite album? Whatever the last album was that was released, or what's the most meaningful album? And they all have been meaningful albums. I've never listened to a Pearl Jam album and walked away feeling disappointed. But I'll always go back to 10, because those songs from start to finish, not only do they tell a story, but they're responsible for hundreds of friendships I've made over the past 30 years. And I just sent you a photo of my friend Tony Bounds.
Let me pull that up.
Up. Where'd he go? Well, Trey left the room. Interesting. All right. Well, while Trey is coming back in, I don't know if we hit a button or something happened. Trey was talking about this photo he had with Tony Bounds. I have it here. I'm going to pull that up. Here is the photo he talked about with Tony. As Trey tries to get back into the room, this is Trey and Tony. Here's
I dropped
I
out.
think-
Sorry about that. This
No,
photo.
no, no. From
Yeah. This
Go ahead.
photo of Anthony and I, we met. This is the
Nope.
day we met. This is Wrigley 2013. And we met because I was a Pearl Jam fan. Tony's a Pearl Jam fan. He's in the wine business. I'm in the wine business. We had people that knew each other, that knew us, that connected us, right? The same way I met Jeff, who we talked to earlier tonight. So some of my best friends, a lot of my best friends I know because of this band. So that right there says it all.
That's awesome.
And
That
you know,
does.
my wife. I mean, I ended up meeting Holly. It might have been like 7 or 8 butterfly effects down the road, but it never would have happened had I not moved to Seattle in the first place. And I never would have moved there without this band. So,
Well, you know what?
Let's ask the same question for you.
Well, we're talking about that in a minute. We're gonna go to play a song. When we come back, we have another special guest that's waiting in the wings. I see a blank video. We're gonna get that worked out in a minute. But let's talk to the gentleman you just spoke about here in a minute. But first, let's listen to Oceans.
One, two, three. Hold on to the thread. The currents will shift. Glide me toward you. Know something's left, and we're all allowed to dream of the haze. Of the next time we You don't have to stray the oceans away. Waves roll in my thoughts. Oh, tight the rain. The sea will rise. Please stand by the shore. I will be there once
Anthony, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, buddy.
And
What's
now
Tony
we have Tony
Bounds.
Bounds.
What's
And
going
I-
on, guys?
And before we even get going, Tony, I know that I'm supposed to be mailing you a T-shirt. It's coming.
No, that's fine, man. Whenever. No rush. No rush.
No, you know, I listen. I have the craziest schedule right now. It is absolutely insane.
I
So I've enjoyed.
I hear you got a good soccer player in the family over there.
Insane
dude,
soccer player.
Dude,
World class. World class. He's gonna
tomorrow-
be paying for Anthony's new house.
Yeah,
You
no,
gotta love it.
I want nothing. Tomorrow he plays his first game for this professional club, and I don't know who's more nervous, me or my kid. Like I'm like terrified for him.
How old
because
is he?
like he's 11,
Wow.
and
Man.
tomorrow he's playing on the U14 team. So he's played up his whole life, but now he's playing like 3 years up. But the kid, I mean, I'm 6'5", my wife's almost 6 foot.
Yeah.
He's pretty damn tall. I mean, I don't know, craziness. But
That's
listen,
great, man. Good luck to him. Hope he does great.
well, I'm hoping so. Especially for moving here in 2 years. But Tony, the one cool thing, first of all, you've been watching us since episode 1. You've been on almost every episode, and I really
Love it,
appreciate
man.
that.
I every month, look forward to it. Great show. Great show.
Oh, well, I really appreciate that. It's mostly Trey. It's not me.
Not true.
But-
not true.
That is very
Not
true. But Tony, the one cool thing is, me and Trey have talked about you in the past, and the story of how you guys met and how awesome it is how this band, like mine and Paul's story, or even Trey and Jeff's story, how this band brought us together and created this lifelong friendship. And my question to you is, when you think of Pearl Jam, and especially your friendship with Trey, which I know is very special to both of you, how important is the music that has basically brought you this friendship?
I mean, the music is what it's what it all revolves around. If it wasn't for the music, we wouldn't even know each other, wouldn't even be friends. I mean, I'm in the wine business, don't even sell his wine. And this friend of ours, Chris Shermer and James Perry, is like, man, you need to meet this guy. Trey, y'all have the same music. Y'all like the same band just as much as y'all are two diehards, and y'all need to meet. And then I go to Wrigley Field, the Lightning 2013 show, and we're texting through Facebook or whatever. And I was like, man, I don't even know what you look like. And he's like, I'm wearing a Drop in the Park shirt. I'm around 8th row on Jeff's side. My wife and I were about 12th row, same area. And that's where that picture earlier came from. And ever since then, this man has just been great friends. But it all revolves around this band. I mean, then we went to Wrigley 2016 together.
Oh,
I mean, I've been to 35 shows, but I've been to at least the 2 Wrigleys with Trey and maybe another 1 or 2. But it's all about the band and the music. And then last weekend, being at London Bridge, I went to Wine Country, Seattle, a boat party, and
you remember that boat party, Tony? You don't remember any of that.
I went to many. Had a 7-day trip in wine country, but the highlight of my trip was being at the London Bridge studio with Trey and Holly and his buddy showing us around the studio. It was just like being on hollow ground. It was just so cool. I mean, it was the best. Just incredible.
Anthony, you'll appreciate this. When we went in to go see Eric, and when you come out to Seattle, Anthony, I'll make sure we get a tour up there.
I've been to London.
You've been there.
I've London.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Eric sits down at the piano.
Oh man.
That Black was, the piano part for Black was played there, but Mother Love Bone, Chloe Dancer, right?
Yeah.
So he sits down and he starts playing Chloe Dancer. And
Chills.
I
mean,
saw
goosebumps.
tears.
So
Come on,
cool.
chills. I saw Tony crying. He was wiping away tears. It's a true story.
It was great, man. It was awesome.
It
So good.
sounds. It just, you heard those notes coming out of that piano, and you just felt it in your bones. It was just like it was so special. And I'm glad you were there, buddy. It was just great to have you up there.
No, it was great, man. It was awesome. And then Saturday night at your Seattle tasting room with Alan Johansson and just
Yeah, dude,
playing
Kim
sticky.
Dial, man. Kim
And you
Dial,
picked the
Soundgarden.
and not only that is you picked the perfect album. You played Sticky Fingers and Some Girls as the warm up albums before the main acts played right before Charlie Watts passing. I mean, it was a big Stones night in that room that night. Also, it was great, man. It was great. It's all about the music. So it all comes back to the music.
That's right, and that's a good point, Tony. It is all about the music, and that shows you how powerful music is. It brings friendships together. It's there's an emotional support that music brings in times of need. And good Lord, the last 5.5 years have been a time of need. And, you know, we will always have music to fall back on. But thank God we've got Pearl Jam because, you know, they really laid out this sort of, you know, I don't know what the word is, but they mean so much to so many and a lot of different reasons, but to be that band that connects with so many people for different reasons is just super special. And you know, I'm glad I know you because of this band, and Anthony and I know each other because of this band, and you know, Jeff and I know each other because of this band, and so it's a special thing.
It is. Good deal, man. Well, thanks.
Well, Tony, listen,
man. I appreciate
I can't thank you enough. Oh shit, he's already on. We have another guest that's coming on here, and he can only be on for a few minutes. So, Tony, we're gonna bounce.
Hey,
and I'm gonna add someone else on that is another person.
Love you. I'll see you.
All right, let's add him on, and here comes Brad. Brad, thank you so much for coming on a last minute. Thank you for taking your name tag off.
Brad, are you working?
You know, I'm at work right now. Yeah, it's busy up in Vancouver now that the Americans can come up. It's definitely filling us up on weekends. So,
you know, Anthony, I've got some photos of Brad and I, front row Spokane. In what year was that, Brad?
2013. That was the Steve Gleason set list show.
Yeah, it was like January or February, and one of my all-time favorite pre-show get-togethers. So I have a good friend named Jeff Wells. He lives in Sun Valley, Idaho. He'd never been to a Pearl Jam show, and he's a big music guy. And I said, Jeff, you got to come to this show. I got 2 tickets, and flying to Spokane. So he flew into Spokane. He landed at like noon. But I drove up from Walla Walla like 5 in the morning. I get there at like 8:30. There's already like 40 people in line, and you know Brad is already there, right? So
I know.
This is January or February. Is that my thinking this right? Am I timing right?
January, it was. I think it was early December, or late November.
It was cold. That's what I remember. Because it was cold as shit.
Because they went from Spokane to Calgary, and a lot of people have missed the Calgary show because of the blizzard. And then the Vancouver show and the Seattle show, which was super, super cold.
Yeah.
And that they kicked everyone out of the grounds for that who was camping out for GA because it was too cold.
So we're waiting in line. It's 8, 9 in the morning, and everybody's wrapped up, and you've got like people bringing you coffee. You know, it's the fan community. You can leave to go to the bathroom. No one's going to kick you out of line, all that stuff, right? And my friend Jeff Wells flies in from Sun Valley. He shows up at noon. No one yells at him for jumping in line with me because I was saving his space. And but I wanted to give Jeff, I got there early because I wanted to give my friend Jeff a real Pearl Jam experience and his first show. And they let us in the venue, and we're all right there on the rail. We're right in front of Mike. You know, Brad's like 4 or 5 people over to my right, pretty much right in front of Eddie. And what a show that was.
It's a great show.
And it was a great show. And like very like crowd interactive with the band. And if you've ever watched the video of the guy cutting his dreadlocks off during the song Brain of Jay, it's one of the all-time great Pearl Jam moments in the past 30 years. And I was so glad I was there to see it. My friend Jeff Wells was there to see it as well. And one of the many things I've shared with you, Brad, and I'm
that was
glad
super cool.
there. Yeah, it was a great time. Yeah, you look good, buddy.
We did lose some. We did lose some pretty amazing songs for Brain and Jay, but it was
Yeah,
it was a very very cool experience. I was still rocking the shorts. I actually did have to make a trip in the middle of the day to Costco to get some long underwear to put on underneath my shorts to keep myself warm. And I remember, I think I came back with like 30 hot dogs to feed everybody in line because I'm like, if I'm at Costco, I might as well get a whole bunch of hot dogs.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Well, there's two questions I have for Brad.
Yep.
The first question is, what does the album 10 mean to you?
It's weird. I didn't immediately get into 10. 10, it's weird. It reminds me of an old photograph of me and a friend who was a roommate of mine in my front yard in Kelowna before she had won a trip to Seattle to go see the Mariners. And she was kind of like into the grunge thing, kind of more than me. And we were going to go down together. And I'd never been to Seattle before. And something came up at the last minute, and she was kind of strapped for some money. I think somebody offered her some money for the other half of the ticket. And she told me that she needed the money and that she was going to basically kind of like sell her extra ticket to kind of go down with her. I was like, okay. So I never really realized what I missed trip-wise to be able to kind of go down there and kind of see part of that. Until years later, being able to go to Seattle as much as I can, but it's weird. It more reminds me of that one photo of the two of us in my front yard back in 1990 than an actual definitive moment or song or anything. And like I don't even think, I know this may sound sacrilegious, I don't even think I bought 10. I think the first Pearl Jam album I bought was Versus when it came out. And I didn't even buy 10. It was on the radio enough, and I heard enough play to it. But it's pretty, obviously it's pretty iconic that it's lasted and endured as long as it is. And if you just like listen to the album from front to back, is really an amazing album. And I don't know why I just didn't get into it enough right at the time. Just the way kind of transition was with life. Shortly after that, I moved from Kelowna to Victoria and just kind of got distracted with other things. But yeah, I'm sorry I didn't have a better answer.
Well,
No.
But Brad made up for it, right? I mean, of all the fans out there, for first of all, that's definitely not the answer I expected, Brad. But for all the fans out there, you have made up for that 91, 92 time period where you didn't get to see them or listen to them that much.
Yeah.
How many shows have you seen now, Brad?
I'm up to, I think, about 108. I think between Sam and I, we're almost at 200.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's not Rob territory. That's pretty good.
No, it's not Amy Moore territory either. Amy Moore was supposed to hit 400 until COVID hit. But
wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. Holy cow.
Now, I feel like tonight's like the 10 friendiversary show, or like how it brought us together. Brad's a very good friend of mine. I talk to Brad more than sometimes I talk to my wife, which is, it is kind of funny. But, I've known about Brad for a real long time, and we've had our passing bys, and we didn't really become friends until afterwards. And this band has really created this friendship between me and Brad that really means the world to me. And if it were not for this album, this friendship wouldn't exist. Not for this band. Brad, do you have to take that?
I'm good.
Okay. If not for this album and not for this band, this friendship wouldn't exist. And this friendship means the world to me. And I know that this album has created other opportunities for Brad with his wife, who I adore as well. And, I just want to, say that, I appreciate you, Brad, for being my friend and dealing with me, because I'm not the easiest person. Same thing are you too, Trey. I mean, I'm surprised. We've been a year into this damn show. I'm surprised you haven't dropped off yet. But no, it's pretty awesome, and I'm glad that you were able to come on tonight. I know you were working, but you've been a big supporter of the show and watching and stuff. So it's cool to have you on and hear your story about what the show means, what the album means.
It's like a lot of it. It's the next level of it. It's when it becomes the band kind of has evolved and kind of nurtured and created so many different friendships for so many different people from all over the world. It's really just remarkable. And it's pretty cool.
Some of my favorite Pearl Jam shirts I own came from Brad.
Nice.
That is the truth.
What shirts? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know anything about
Exactly. Hey, did you say a boot?
Yeah. So
We're talking Fight Club references now. You know, we don't talk about Fight Club.
yeah.
Right.
And it's just amazing the camaraderie in the people we've met. And I always thought it'd be weird or interesting to be able to kind of, if you could see a live replay of the concerts you went to and just see how close you were, proximity, or ran into people who became future friends at a certain time. It's like you were like 7 spots in the way from somebody who you didn't know at the time, who 2 years later becomes a great friend. It'd be weird to be able to see that perspective.
One of the biggest moments of my professional photography life, and something that meant the world. I mean, this story goes back. I've known about Brad and Sam for a real long time, and you know, it's one of those things where like you know about them, but you don't know how to approach them. One of the, you know, when I got to photograph Pearl Jam, you know, Brad tried to sell me a ticket, and it was interesting. It was the first time we ever talked. And, you know, we had talked a few times after that too, but like, you know, then we had this, we really grew in friends when I met him in Seattle, and we spent a couple days together. But, you know, it's kind of like he had said, like these stories of, you know, me and Brad were in the same areas many times, but our friendship wasn't until years later. But it is cool to think that like how many times we were in that vicinity. Same thing with you, Trey. I know we've been to a lot of the similar shows together, just, you know, and it's cool to think that like how this band has brought us together, honestly. So.
I remember Sam telling me about Trey before I ever met Trey. I think Sam met Trey, I think at the that Soundgarden CBGB show at Paramount Studios.
Oh man,
were you down there for that,
was
Trey?
What a great show that was. That was Tim Bierman invited me down for that show, and that was on the set of the Paramount Studios or one of the movie studios down there, and Soundgarden had gotten back together. They had just given their sort of musical rights over to, was it like, not give it?
It was like Guitar Hero?
Yeah, Guitar Hero or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, or Rockstar or something, yeah.
And they were just going to release their next, I can't remember what the next album that was coming out was, but because that next album was going to be part of the Guitar Hero package, and they pre-sold that, before the album was released, it was already a gold record, because gold records aren't just album sales, it's music sales. And because it was through a video game, so they had this great party in Hollywood on this movie set, and they recreated the CBGB studio. You felt like you were walking into it, and then of course you're on the soundstage. Still to this day, loudest concert I've ever been to. That's why I wear these things. That fucking show is responsible for my loss of hearing. So loud, but it was great. That's a funny story. I didn't realize that's where we actually met, but that's
that's where you met Sam.
Yeah.
Well, a funny Sam story, and then we'll let Brad go because I know he's working and I don't want to take too much away. But a couple of months ago, I was going through my phone. And I had this random video of like someone yelling at a guy. I remember taking it, and we were at a bar, and this guy was acting like a dick the whole time. And some girl walks up to him and like yells at him, and then like walks off, and he stops dancing. Well, when I took that video, I had no idea who that person was. Years later, come to find out that was Sam, that was at the bar. That like she was trying to walk past him, and this guy was dickenly like dancing and acting like that, and she gets in his face and yells. And I sent it to Brad. I said, "Look what I found on my phone." And he's like, "What the hell is that from?" I said, "Dude, I have no idea. This is shit that I keep on my phone." But that was my first interaction with Sam. But
so funny.
In all honesty, Brad, thank you so much for coming on. I know that you're working, and I appreciate you coming on and talking for a little bit. Doing
Brad,
this,
am I going to see you? I'm going to see you down at Ohana Encore.
That's the plan. As long as things go well, hopefully I'll be able to see you and Matt and Sam, and I'll be able to make it down. A couple of friends. Yeah, looking forward to that.
All right, perfect. Well, let's
Fingers
stay in
crossed.
touch about where you're staying and all that stuff, and we'll make sure we get to hang out. Okay.
Sounds good.
Fuck.
Congrats on
you guys
on a year, guys. You guys are awesome.
Thank you so much. You guys are really pushing me to go to this fucking encore, aren't you? This is a bunch of my favorite people in like one place.
Hey, you got to go to the encore.
I need a lighter.
All right, well, listen. Here's another song from the album 10, and we'll be right back after this song.
Take care, guys.
See you back.
Tower Records.
I just have to tell you, all these people and we're people is a very unusual thing.
Anthony, can you hear me?
Yeah.
That's weird. I can hear it now.
Play
all of a
one
sudden.
more. So no string.
And I didn't push any. But you came here.
It's a good one though. Not to have a string on.
Anthony.
Chorus, is that all right?
Anthony.
What?
I can hear you. I'm texting you.
Okay. Yeah, I can't hear the this is the Tower Records show. I can't hear it at all. It's weird. I don't know if you hit something that I didn't hear there. There we go.
So, why do I have an echo now?
So that was New Jersey. I thought it was Tower Records, right?
That was Tower Record.
Okay.
No, that was New Jersey.
But Tower Records in New Jersey, or like some record store in New Jersey?
I think that's the Tower Records store promo series that they did when they went to like on the West Coast, East Coast,
Okay.
New York, and they did all the in-store stuff.
Yeah. Wow. See, how cool would that have been to see that, right? Just like they probably played like 3 or 4 songs, no mics, all acoustic. It
So
did remind me. It reminded me of, and that was right after the album was released. But
Correct.
you know, when I will tell you the unplugged episode of MTV, the impact that had on me was also huge, right?
Yeah.
That was the exact same time they came through Athens around the same time that was released, not far after that. And I remember how impactful that performance was.
You know, it's interesting. So when I was doing Strange Tribe Live 2 years ago, we had a woman come on. She had called in and she had talked about how she had saw the Tower Records show in, I want to say, New York. And it was accidental. Like she had fell into this, right? Like she was just kind of buying an album and was able to fall into this. And that's how she fell in love with the band. And she talked about like the intimacy of like seeing the band without like the instruments and like this like raw way of their playing style of like how the emotions really came through, right? And that's pretty special. So
Yeah,
you know, there's a couple performances over the 30 years of this band being together that you look back at and you're like, what if I was there for? Like Unplug is one of them. You know, the in stores they did in their early days is another one. Their first live show, when you look at it before Eddie really broke out of his shell. There's a lot of performances that really stand out, right? I mean, there's a lot of podcasts that do that really well and talk about shows and what they mean, but like we all know of these like shows and what they mean to the band and us as fans. So it's interesting for sure. But
Benaroya,
yeah, man,
Benaroya
I
was
wish
like that a little bit too, right? I mean, Benaroya was not just an acoustic show, but acoustic show in a building that was built for that kind of music. And I think that is why that album resonates with people so much is you've got this band that you sort of knew as you know a electric rock band essentially, and how can they be so great with a bunch of acoustic instruments and just some vocals? You know, like how can they convey the same power and emotion in their songs without all that noise? You know, it's like, I mean, McCready's guitar plugged in versus, but that's the, you know, the magic of that group. You know, it's the magic of that band that they can convey. And Nirvana was the same way. The Nirvana Unplugged was, and the Alice in Chains. Let's face it, Seattle was amazing back then. I mean, all those bands were
you know, Trey,
emotional.
you talk
They were
about Seattle being
emotionally
amazing back then,
impactful
but
bands.
even when I came to Seattle in 2019, and you know, I went to East Street Records, and you know, they were introducing me to all these upcoming artists that were coming out of Seattle. There's still this like, I don't know how to explain it. There's it really has this amazing music scene in Seattle of musicians. Hell, Stereo Embers, you know, you know, God, I mean, there's just Fires that were that played just a couple weeks ago at your place. Kathy Moore Trio. I mean, there's so many of these amazing bands in Seattle. There's something in the water up there that's consistently making amazing bands.
Yeah, there's a new band called the Black Tones.
Yep.
It's a duo. It's a brother-sister duo, and they are incredible.
Yeah.
There's still so much great music coming out of here. I mean, it's just a matter of trying to figure out the avenues. You know, the avenues that Pearl Jam had in 1991 to deliver their music to people it's completely different today. There is no MTV.
No.
There is no radio. Radio is pop radio. Unless it's KEXP or KCRW that is playing these new bands that deserve a voice. Other than that, you're just listening to corporate radio, and you're not going to listen to those bands. So it takes more work from the user's end to go find it. It's weird, right? Technology has given us the ability to listen to anything we want to, whenever we want, wherever we want. But there's just so much noise out there that you have to do the work to go find it now. Where it used to, like, you turn the radio, you turn MTV, and it'd come to you, and these bands would be playing, and those avenues have really dried up. And so, I feel for musicians trying to make it in this industry today, because you think it'd be easier with all the avenues you have to put it out there, but in reality, it's that much harder because there's just so much more noise out there.
Well, talking about musicians making it nowadays, I want to bring up something. So what we're going to do this evening, we have 3 more songs to play off the album 10. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about something here in a minute. We're going to play a song. I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk about what 10 means to me, play a song. We're going to wrap up everything. And then we're going to close out the night with 1 more song. So we have 3 more songs. I think that's fair. Wouldn't you say so, Trey?
That's fair. I mean, we're almost 3 hours into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just pulling guests out of our ass, which is great.
Look, it's 30 years. It is, if anything deserves a 3-hour podcast, it is Pearl Jam's 30th anniversary of 10. And I'm glad we're doing it together, buddy.
Well, I appreciate that. You had mentioned about how bands kind of have a harder time bringing it up. So I'd mentioned this a little while ago when we were talking about what we're doing before See Her Now Festival. So I wanted to show this on the on the next month, the night before See Her Now Festival, we are going to be putting together Shorestock. Shorestock is an event that is raising money for the Project Matters. The Project Matters is an organization out of New Jersey that is helping New Jersey musicians that cannot afford the instruments, the lessons, to get them to the next level. There's a lot of kids out there that want to learn how to play guitar or play an instrument and just can't afford it. Well, this woman, her name's Karen High. Unfortunately, her son had passed away at a very young age. She was very into music and playing instruments and being in a band. She used his story and his memory to create the Project Matters. We have a lot of moving pieces at Touring Fan Live, and we are putting together Shorestock. That's one piece of this. And we're going to have Paul Wirt, who was on a little while ago, members that have graduated from the program, the Project Matters. They'll be performing that night, the U.S. Americans, and some surprise guesses for this. So all the money we raise at this event is going to be giving directly to the Project Matters. Also, we are doing this ukulele auction. We have sent these ukuleles to some of the top artists in the poster game. Tyler Stout, Brad Clausen, Jim Mazza, Bailey Race, Steve Thomas. Oh my God, I'm forgetting so many. The Copper Trees, Brian Meth, John Gloom, and so many more, 13 artists. They have all painted ukuleles one of one. They're significant. They're never going to be made like this before. Only one. They're going to be up for auction. So right now, if you want to, you can text TPM for the Project Matters. So TPM to 843-606-6063 to learn how you can bid on these pieces of work. It's amazing. Right now, we have the Steve Thomas, the John Gloom ukulele is up to bid on right now. So you can go to that and bid on those as we speak. So we are in moving pieces of that. So, and none of this happens. This Touring Fan Live, this auction, us raising money for the Project Matters, all the people working. We have about 30 people working on all this stuff. None of this happens if not for this album.
That's true.
So that's where we're at. So, Trey, we're going to play a song.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk about what I feel about 10.
Awesome.
Play a song, wrap this shit up, finalize the last song, and call it a night.
Sounds good to me, buddy. I can't wait to hear them.
Here we go. Trey, never in the show's history have we had such a drop off in viewership.
What's that?
I
Is there a
said
drop
never
off
in
in
a show's
viewership? What
history
happened?
had
We
such
lose
a
everybody?
huge drop off.
You know, when it's a 3-hour show, it's going to happen. It's
I
funny. I watched
figured.
that video, and there's a few other you've shown already that Mike McCready's wearing that. He looks like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's wearing that. It's not a cowboy hat necessarily, but like it's a Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of a hat. You can see where some of his influence came from. So that's a great song. I love that.
There was a question about Ward Sutton doing a uke, and
He is, I
Ward
think,
Sutton,
right?
who I've become very good friends with, and he is doing a uke.
Good. If you're very good friends with him, can you see if he can get me a few posters?
I doubt it.
Oh, okay. All right. Fine. Never mind. Then. one of my all-time favorite posters I own is the Seattle poster with the guy pulling the skull apart,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other head coming out of it.
He was on my list of people I wanted to interview for a long time, and I
Yeah.
was nervous because, he doesn't do interviews very often. He's a very keeps to himself kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he did an interview for me about, I don't know, 8 months ago, and he is the most generous, nice guy. Such a sweetheart.
Yeah. He's been very active recently on social. You know, he's put himself back out there, and he's been doing a ton of new art and a lot of political stuff too, which I love about him. So he's great.
Oh yeah. No, he's absolutely amazing, and I'm glad to see him out and about because he is such an underrated artist, and
He is.
I love seeing him do some stuff. So,
Anthony, I have a question for you.
hey, brother.
What does Pearl Jam 10 mean to you?
I've said this in past shows that I don't really have a lot of connection and friends locally where I live. And most of the friends that I have because of Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
And this kind of ties in with what I was talking a while ago. Music is what got me through life. I didn't have the greatest childhood, didn't have the greatest upbringing. It was rough. I had a lot of moments that really were dark, and music was what got me through it. And, I think back to the album 10, and I remember listening to it. I stole it out of my aunt's Camaro. She had it. It was a piece of shit Camaro. She didn't deserve having it anyway. And I stole it out of her car. I got in trouble for it later in life, but I don't regret it now. And I remember there was a significant period in my life where something had happened to me that really held, that to this day really kind of haunts me. But, I was in my room alone. I remember putting that CD on and listening to my yellow Sony CD player, the one that you supposedly could shake it and it wouldn't skip, but it definitely skipped. And I remember for the time that album was, from the first song right to the end, when release finalizes and you get that ambient music, that everything went away. That every, pain I was feeling at that moment and everything that was really hurting me was irrelevant. So 10 to me is probably a lifesaver. And I know people have said that, and I know it's hard, and some people might not understand that, but without this band, I wouldn't have met my wife because I wouldn't have met Paul. And Paul is the person who got me to meet my wife. Without this band, I don't have my kids. I don't stay in Virginia. I probably would have went back to Boston. Without this band, I don't meet you, and your friendship means the world to me. Without this band, I don't meet Brad, and Brad's one of my dearest friends. Without this band, I don't have this show. Without this band, I don't have a lot of things I have. Yeah. And it's weird to think that, right? Like, it's weird to think about, like you had said, the butterfly effect of without this, what can you do? And it's weird to there was a couple months ago, someone mentioned, was like, hey, if you can go back in time and change things, would you do it? And I said, no. Because the smallest thing you change, maybe you don't have what you have now. Yeah. And sometimes those sacrifices and those hard times in your life bring you to better things. So this album's everything to me. And it's interesting because I got in an argument a couple of months ago, and I think I told you about this, Trey, where someone had talked about how they went to the bathroom during Even Flow. And I said, why? He's like, well, I see it a bunch of times. And I said, but it's not about seeing it a bunch of times. This is a piece of art. Like Even Flow is a piece of art. Like we had heard a little while ago, the actual final cut is a spliced version together, which is hilarious to me. I didn't know that.
Right. Yeah.
But this album came out at the right time, was put together by the right people, and has changed the lives of millions of people.
Yeah.
And because of that, it defines millions of people's lives.
No arguments. I mean, that's succinctly said, my friend. So argue, and there are other bands that have done this for other people, right? If the Rolling Stones did that for people, and the Beatles did that for people, and name a band. I mean, it doesn't really matter what that band is, but that's the power of music. And if you're lucky enough to find that band that speaks to you and helps you get through the day, and puts a smile on your face, or takes you from a shitty mood to a great mood, that is awesome. And I don't know what I'd do without this band, and I'm thankful for them. So,
well, let's play one more song.
Yeah.
Then we'll come back, wrap it up, and then close it with probably what I think is the greatest Pearl Jam song of all time. So 2 more songs tonight. 1 more rant and rave from me and Trey, and then we're going to call it an evening. All right, here we go. Whoop, nope, that is...
Christmas queen love, young virgin from heaven, visiting hell, Superman doesn't like the view. She doesn't like the view. Body thinks it's healthy.
It was interesting. We were texting a minute ago. Like the idea that people had recorded these, you know,
VHS, baby.
Well, think. I want to throw you a stat at you before we close this up and play with our last song. When Pearl Jam came out, right,
Yep.
30 years prior to that was the Beatles.
Right.
So how we're looking at Pearl Jam right now is how people were looking at the Beatles back in 1991.
Right.
And that's significant because I think it shows handoff, right? Like how music changes over 30 years, right? In the last 30 years, there's been a significant difference in the quality and how music's interpreted and how music's listened to and how music is seen and heard, everything, right? I mean, you know, we all have our opinions about things, but there has been amazing bands in between Pearl Jam in 1991 and Pearl Jam in 2021, Jesus. And it's crazy to think how, if you think about Pearl Jam starting in 1991 and 1961, how all that music that came in between there, right? Like that 30 years. Think of the difference, right? It's a wild ride.
Well, so last night, Holly and I rewatched 8 Days a Week. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a Ron Howard documentary or movie about the Beatles, and it's one of the great music documentaries. If you've never seen it, you guys are watching this tonight. I highly recommend you go watch it. It's on, I think it was on Hulu, or I think it was Hulu. And what was remarkable about watching that was Ron and his team found so much footage, and I'm talking early footage, high school footage of their, right when they got together. And you're like, oh, I'm so glad people are there to document that. That's how I feel about Pearl Jam. I'm so glad that there were people out there to document this stuff. And, we can all just go to YouTube and watch these shows.
Yeah.
Although I will tell you, I was texting Anthony watching that video. I've seen that video 100 times. That dude in front of the cameraman, he's got Tourette syndrome. He's shaking his head with his ponytail. And I'm like, this thing drives me absolutely nuts. So, but the crazy thing about that show that we just watched, that was Mural Amphitheater, Seattle, 1991. That was Dave Abbruzzese' first Pearl Jam concert playing at. He had flew in 4 days prior to that and then played that show. And so that's a remarkable, what a historic thing.
So let's talk about this. We are 1 year into, we are 1 year into the show.
Yeah. We
have done 12 episodes. We are at over 1 million listens on the podcast, which I am so excited about in the world. Oh my God, this text is hilarious.
Yeah, come on, we got to get him on, right? I mean,
if he wants to, I'm just gonna send him the link. How's that sound?
All right, send him the link. All right, we got one more
if he
special
comes on, he
guest.
comes
Hopefully he can join in. If he can, he can. If he can't, he can't. But it's It's the 30-year.
I don't even know what time it is. Listen, my
computer's.
computer's. I'm looking at like my laptop says it's 12:15, which is Eastern Standard Time. My iPad's saying 11:15. I don't know what the hell's going on in this world. You know, the last time I did this Kansas City trip, I wasn't confused by this time zone. This trip has really fucked with my head. But well, I do want to talk about this. So we've been doing this 12 episodes. Our 13th episode is coming up next month. Looking at a calendar, if you're in front of it,
Yeah.
how does September 28th look for you? Or I'm sorry, 29th.
Yeah. What day? 29th?
Yep, the last
that's
Wednesday
great.
of September. Okay. We've been doing recently 2 songs, right? I think we need to leave 10 for a while because we just talked about it in extense.
Yeah.
Where do we want to go?
I mean, what if have we got anything like super recent, like new?
So I was thinking.
I mean, I put no thought into this whatsoever, by the way. You know, I started harvest yesterday. Like we brought in, I got, 3 tons of Chardonnay fermenting in my cellar right now. So my mind has been on winemaking. But obviously I've been thinking about this show.
Sure.
I've not put any thought into the next show, so I'm gonna let you dictate it.
All right, so I think we should do 2 songs. One off of No Code because today is the 25th anniversary of that, and I'd like to do Smile.
Oh, what a great song!
And then because Tony Bounds just said Yield on the chat, I'm gonna go with Yield, and I'm going to do. Have we done? Oh, Faithful in Hiding. Fuck it, let's do Faithful. So we're gonna do Faithful and we're gonna do Smile next month on that Wednesday. The show will not be 3 hours long. I can guarantee you that. I don't know if we're gonna have another guest or not. I literally during the whole show I'm just texting people.
We
come
enjoyed.
on,
Listen, hopefully you guys enjoyed the guests, and you guys give us some feedback in the comment section or text us. But I love having guests on. Anthony's tired of looking at my face, I'm sure, and asking me questions. So it's really fun, I think, having another person on with a third or fourth perspective. So, it's
when I think back of the year of doing this, I'll never forget texting you, and I was nervous about it too. And I think I've told you this story, but I don't think I've told it on air. I was like, I had just left, another organization, I was like, I need to start doing things on my own again. And so I text you, I'm like, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? And you didn't text me back right away. And
I probably thought it was spam. I probably didn't even have your number written in my thing. I was like, who the fuck is this?
Well, it was thanks. But it was like 2 days later, you're like, dude, that's a great idea. We should definitely do it. And it was a year ago yesterday. We did our first episode. And it was interesting. About 3 episodes in, we have really good viewership on YouTube and here, but our podcast, I don't know what the hell it is, but we've done really well. I don't know if this 3-hour long episode will, but
our viewership's gonna drop dramatically after this one. We're gonna lose everybody. We literally just got rid of our entire audience. They were like, "Fuck this shit."
But I am super grateful for you. I'm also super grateful for your wife for allowing you to take time away from her. I know that your time is limited with running the vineyard and the winery. So I appreciate you both doing this, allowing this to happen. And I look forward to another year of this show.
I can't wait. Ooh, recap show. All right. Well, our special guest is going to join us on the next one. So, all right.
All right. So
we're going to make that happen. All right.
I definitely.
All right.
Trey,
right. What are we lining up? What are we lining up? What's the last song? Well, we all know what the last song is.
Of course, this to me is my favorite song of all time.
Of all time.
This song really got me through a lot.
Yeah.
So this is special to me. Trey, any final words before we sign off, buddy?
No, brother. I love you. Thank you so much for hosting this show with us and allowing me to, this is a creative outlet, I guess, in a way. And to be able to talk about the band that we all love so much. And I feel like we're able to talk about this in a safe environment because we're all nuts in the same way. So thank you for hosting it and bringing me on board your ship. So thank you, buddy.
All right. Well, I love you too, buddy. You hang tight. Let's get this last song out, and we'll talk to you guys in a couple of weeks.
How is the sound?